Nancy, is the manager up? He is? Since he's not here, could we be first? Make the manager wait? Does he have a time limit? You know, he doesn't talk. Yeah.
Okay. We're up now. We're live.
I'm gonna tell you everything. It's just some math, right? Did you teach that?
No, I put the. Good evening. I'd like to call to order tonight's meeting for the planning board. Tonight is Tuesday, November 18th. The time is 6 p.m. Start with roll call and attendance. Present this evening is myself, Matthew O'Neill, Vice Chairman John Gagne, Secretary Derek Lombard. Members of the planning board present this evening include Perry Kellogg and Morris Devine. Town staff present this evening include our administrative officer, town planner Nancy Latendra, our minute taker Chloe Chanel, and our assistant solicitor for planning and zoning Scott Levesque. We have 3 minutes that are slated for approval this evening, although I believe we only have a quorum for 2 of those minutes, based on the members that are present this evening. For September 2nd, we do not have a quorum for that, as both Derek and Morris were absent for that meeting. And October 7th, Perry, you were absent for that meeting.
Wait. No, we can do the 7th.
We can do the 7th, yeah. 7th we can do, yeah. Oh, I take that back. We now have a quorum for everyone because James is here. Thank you. Present also this evening now is board member James Nicholas. So now we do have a quorum for all of our minutes.
Motion to approve September 2nd, minutes of September 2nd, 2025.
Second. We have a motion and a second for the September 2nd meeting. Is there any discussion from members of the board that were present that day?
3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Hearing none. All those in favor that were present? Aye. All those again? And any that were absent? Abstain? Abstain? And Morris? Abstain? Okay, so we have a vote of 4 ayes and 2.
Excuse me, Mr.
abstain.
Chairman,
Yes.
could we hold on further distribution of documents until we conclude business?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
If we can. Thank you. The next minutes we have is the October 7th minutes. I entertain a motion from somebody who was present on October 7th. The 2 that were not present were James and Perry.
I make a motion to approve the October 7th meeting.
Second.
Any discussion from members that were present? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? And those who were not present, abstain?
Abstain.
Perry? Okay, thank you. So we have vote, motion carries 4-0. And we have 2 abstaining. And the final minutes we have is October 21st, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion from members of the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much. Okay, next order of business is changes to the agenda. Do we have any recommended changes to the agenda by any members of the board or our administrative staff for this evening? Okay, hearing none. Our first order of business this evening then, for old business is capital improvement, program, item E1. This is a review, discussion, and possible action and or continuation by the planning board on a presentation by the town manager and director of finance regarding the capital improvement program. The planning board is expected to provide their recommendations on December 2nd.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to, there is a subcommittee of the planning board and we'll be meeting tomorrow. Ms. Kellogg and Mr. Nicholas and I will be meeting with the manager and we'll complete our other portion of this matter. So just think it's important to get it out there.
Thank you. That,
Good evening.
thank you very much.
Hope everyone's well. So we passed, Nancy passed out some stuff. So you have a capital book, which is basically, if you open to the first part of it, is the big long spreadsheet of all the capital. It kind of folds. And then the next section of the book is all the detail lines. So it matches up, the page number matches up with the left-hand column of the spreadsheet. So you can go through each individual item in detail to find out the total budget, the total cost of the project, what's allocated for this year. And then at the very end of the book is a vehicle replacement sheet, which is just a breakdown of the entire fleet of vehicles for the town and how it breaks down over the course of the years and through a capital improvement plan, which is something probably new to you guys you haven't seen. And I also passed out the capital, I know I emailed all this to you electronically, so you have it all electronically too. Is the capital request for the school side. That's in a separate, it's just a request here. It is not included in the book. The book is just a municipal side. And then I also I gave everyone a copy of this building condition assessment. So we had a grant last year. We had a complete building assessment done of all town properties, everything from pumping stations to schools, to town building, to recreation facilities. Again, it's a lot to kind of go through, but if you have some time, you have nothing better to do and you want to read a couple hundred pages of material, you can certainly go through it. But if you go to page 4, it's a general summary. And I just want to give you, I want to start there just to give you a general idea of what we're looking at. So page 4, if you look, in the next 10 years, the projected shortfalls of the capital improvements for town facilities is 127 million. It's on the left-hand side. That's basically the summary of the whole book. And if you look, immediate attention is 7.6 million. High priority 1 to 3 years is 49 million, and you can read from there. Medium is 28 million, and then the 6 to 10 years is out of $41 million. And you can go through and it breaks it down per department. It breaks it down by the category for building, electrical, interior, and so forth. But that's just to give you a general idea where we're at. Some of the stuff in here is already done. The heat and AC system in this building has been totally replaced this year. That's part of it. The windows are getting done now. And this assessment here does not include the $85 million upgrade to the sewer treatment plant. However, some of the things in here are some of the things they're doing, but it's nothing to do with the overall assessment. Has to do with the overall upgrade of the operation of the treatment of the nitrate levels going into the river. That is not factored into this building condition assessment. So you may see things in here like the roof at the sewer treatment plant, which is also part of the $85 million upgrade. But not everything is. Don't think out of the 137 million, 85 of it is for the sewer treatment plant. So high level to go through the capital assessment. So it's broken down. It's the same thing we do every single year. The first category, if you look at this big sheet, is what I'm going to be going by. And you can kind of, I don't have to go, I can if you prefer. You go through each line item. But to give you, I'm just going to go through a couple to just kind of show you the breakdown of these numbers and where we're at. So if you look at line number 1, this is Town Hall HVAC, which it's done. It's in the closeout phase now. And if you look, there's 25,000 budgeted in 26 current year in now. So budget FY 26, if you go across where it says 25,000, if you follow that down, that's all the capital requests for the current year we're in now. Then the next line shows you the remaining balance still in that account, which we haven't used, is 25,000 because we put a contingency amount in there in case we fell short with the heat and AC system in the building. Town hall windows is the next one. We added an additional 150,000. in shortfall is still available as we're going through the windows now, is that was funded in last year's budget. The windows were funded in last year's budget, some of which was opera funding that we received from the federal government. So next one down, town hall. So if you notice, it says prior year fund, first line says 330,000. So then you go over to the next 330, it says fund, prior funding remaining as of 10/20/25, which is when we closed out all these numbers and we came up with the totals. Budget 26, we have 175,000 allocated for all the town hall this year, which brings your total to, if you go all the way to the far right, 505,000. So if you go to sheet, and I'm just trying to give you an example, go to sheet 3 in this, keep flipping past that, and go to sheet 3. It's just basically for town hall improvements, security improvements, and so forth. And it breaks it down to the budget. There's 505,000 remaining for upgrades to this building. So if you go down, the next group of town properties would be, you look at land acquisition, town surveillance cameras, road and sidewalks, Main Street project, Winnapogue salt marsh and dune restoration. All these headings on the left-hand side, and you follow it across, you can see the available funding in prior year, available funding in current year, and then what we're proposing and requested, which is the 27, requested 2027, and then it will show you the remaining years out 5 years and the total cost of the project in the end. So if you look under nut line 7, just to give an explanation, road, sidewalks, and drainage improvements, and you scroll all the way across to where you see $6 million. That's what was allocated in FY26, which is the current year we're in now. And we've spent, if you look at the next number, 5.7 million, that means we've already drawn down to that 5.7. We're currently, this is the $18 million road bond. So the $18 million road bond is spread out 6 million a year over 3 years for 18 million. So this current year we're in is 6 million. We still have 5.7 left. Next year is 6 million in the road bond getting allocated. And the following year, you notice it's 3 and 3 because there's 3 for the Main Street project. There's a Main Street project. We're involved in redoing the entire Main Street, the streetscape, all the drainage and so forth. So there's 3 million out of that final year, 6 million allocated to that project. So you can go down through all these different projects that are on here. And again, there's an explanation on these sheets as to what each one is. And then from the town properties, you go down and, to give you an idea, go to 16, 328 Atlantic Avenue property improvements. That's a Sorensen property we purchased last year through grant money through NOAA and DEM. That's the old water slide property, the big pile of dirt. There's a building to the right-hand side of it. We inquired as a result of that. And so those are some improvements to there. The 116 Canal Street, the next one is the stone building on Canal Street. It used to be a gas station. There was some improvements there. We had purchased that some time back. I added a line for rights of way. You seem to be the hot topic now is the rights of way. As far as one of the rights of way in Musquamacut, we have to apply to get some sort of decking ramp over a dune. Because we can't cut through the dune, it's vegetated, so we have to go up and over it with a deck. So there's money funded in here is one of the requests. You'll see it in the request sheet. So you go down, you have Similary Field, Gingerella Sports Complex, Bradford Preserve Recreation Improvements. To show you the difference of Bradford Preserve is where the lacrosse fields are. That's the big complex. There's just fields, and then Bradford. No, I'm sorry. Bradford Recreation Complex is the old Bradford School. The next one down, 25 Bradford Shelter Safety Areas for the lacrosse fields. So the old Bradford School, as you know, was torn down. We put there's 1.7 million allocated already for this current year for the first stage of that project. It's going to be a recreation facility with a playground, bathrooms, there's a walking path, there's open areas, there's pump track, there's all basketball courts. But it's a multi-stage project. Rotary Park improvements. That's Rotary Park is on Airport Road. That's a recreation complex. So then you have townwide technology improvements. They kind of speak for themselves. If there's questions, certainly ask. I can clarify if there's anything on that. There's a few in that same one, the bottom of the police department. So you have radar units, cameras, referring to the body cameras they wear. We're in a program there, and their radio upgrades. So that's basically for the town-wide capital improvements. So, and then you're down to the water department. Now, the water department is an enterprise fund, so it's within its own budget. So that's why it's separate in here. So the capital improvements come directly out of their budget. And to give you an idea, just on the water department side, as some of the numbers might be, so meter replacement program is pretty self-explanatory. The SCADA system, that's what reads the water. It takes all the different readings in the water to see what chemicals have to be added into the drinking water. Disinfection system upgrade, that's the actual system that disinfects it. Building improvements, that's for the pumping buildings and also the water building. Well redevelopment, the different wells we have in town have to be redeveloped every so many years. Pipe rehabilitation, that's just that, either relining pipes or replacement of water lines. The GIS system is the mapping system of the entire water system in town. Some people have questions. 44, Serenzi Excavation Contact Agreement. It's a lease on the land we have in White Rock that's over the aquifer protection area. That's on the back. So we had purchased the property on the backside, a big piece of property that has a solar array on. Now we lease to a solar Amoresco. We lease them about 5 acres for their solar array, and the remaining 70 some odd acres is owned by the town. It's a property adjacent to that. So this is a leasing program. We pay them a lease every year payment. You can see it's consistent, 206,000. It goes directly to a bank. At the end of the leasing program, we own the property. So that's what the Sorrento one is. Utility cameras, and then just bring your attention to 146 is PFAS. Those who don't know what PFAS is, that's what's in our drinking water. The federal government had increased, I should say, decreased the levels. It used to be 20 parts per trillion. Now it's 4 parts per trillion. And our levels in our water system come in between 4 and 5, 5.5. So we're just over the limit. So just to get an idea, we're working on a program now, but the PFAS program is about a $23 million program to treat all the water. You have to treat 100% of the water because we have wells. We don't have a reservoir. There's, you have to treat the water at every well because it's one system, even though less than 10% of our water is used for drinking. And that's really all you have to treat, but there's no way to, unless you put a whole new system in town just for drinking water. So about $23 million, but we're involved in litigation, national litigation regarding it. And we're supposed, well, they claim we were supposed to get the funding to cover the remediation costs. I don't think it's going to cover that, but but there's also a program, same program we're doing for lead service replacement. The next one, lead service mitigation. We signed up with the council. I entered into a contract a few months ago on lead service mitigation. It's about $17 million program, of which it's going to cost us probably around $10 million over 2 years. But it's funded through the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank through the state at a 0% interest loan over 30 years. So basically it eliminates all the lead services in town, which we have to, by federal regulations, have totally 100% remediated by 2035. This is a 24-month program, so we'll remediate it all within 2 years. And the plan is to start next year. And we currently, just to give you an idea, there is no lead lines in town. We don't have any lead water lines. It's the services to the individual properties. So give you an idea, we have about 14,000 water service lines in town. And we have about 1,200 still have lead service either on the public side or the private side. Public side is the water main to your curb stop. We own that. Private side is curb stop to your water meter in your house is owned by the individual property owners. The curb stop to the house is a property owner responsibility. Town's responsibility is water main to curb stop. This program is correcting everything right to the water main, right to the meter in the house. It's correcting both sides. And then we have there's certain areas of town that qualify for funding, for free funding, where it doesn't have to be paid back. It's called the equity zone. There's a whole section of town it qualifies for. So those would not have to pay. We wouldn't have to pay either of the lead service replacements back. That's where the $17 million project turns into about 10 that we're obligated for. The private side, on the ones that don't fall in the equity zone, we still have to figure out a way to have the property owner pay the town back for the part of it that we're fixing on their property. But again, we would offer it a 0% loan because that's all we're paying too. So We haven't really finalized that, but we are under contract with this company for the lead service mitigation, hopefully to wrap it up in 24 months. So that's what that is. The tank rehab maintenance program is something we just entered into a few months ago. Unfortunately, haven't had a maintenance program in place for our water tanks ever. So they dive in these tanks and they found some issues with the tanks. So we entered into, it's about a $10 million program over a 10-year period. So you can see it's funded accordingly each year. And it's basically a maintenance program for painting them, relining the tanks, conditioning them, everything. So it's almost like a guaranteed maintenance program on the tanks. There's not going to be any shortfall. I mean, that's what we're going to pay. And that will most likely continue and continue and continue as we maintain these tanks, as opposed to waiting for them to get to the point you're replacing the tank. And then the other security and fire service is that infrastructure upgrades and improvements, that's for the water system itself. And then equipment replacement is just for equipment with the water department. Then we move on to the sewer department is again, enterprise fund, totally funded within itself. It's its own budget. There's three of them. There's transfer station, water and sewer. So the sewer department, same thing. So the same SCADA system reads the readings going out for the treatment of the sewage. Building improvements is one. Media replacement we're eliminating because these upgrades to the sewer treatment plant are not going to require any media replacement. Media is a foam that they put in the tanks that conditions the sewage as it's being treated. Infrastructure improvements, sewer evaluation study. So we're doing a sewer evaluation study, which I know has come before this board before, because when somebody proposes a new development, any type of new project in town, they have to have a water assessment done, which we carry on to the developer. And we have an assessment to say, hey, can the water system handle the needed water that is being requested for the development? We're doing the same exact program with the sewer side, which currently is not in place. So a new project come forward, we'll get it. We'll have Jacobs, the company that's running the plant, will be the expense of the developer. We'll get a study to find out if the proposed projects within the sewer district, if there's enough capacity within the system to handle the project. And if there's not, then obviously we have to come up with other measures to treat their sewage. STP capital program, then you have infiltration and inflow improvements. That's through Jacobs contract. That's meaning upgrades to the plant. Sewer relining. So the good thing about the sewer lines is when they go bad, for the most part, we don't have to dig them up and replace them. You can reline them. You can go in and reline them in place. It saves a ton of money and it's good for another 50, 75 years. So, and then obviously the RIDEM upgrade improvements, that's the big sewer upgrade. And if you look, we're proposing 28.3333 million a year for 3 years, which brings us to the $85 million. It's a 3-year project. So rather than borrow the money all at once, we're borrowing it each year because the anticipation is interest rates are going to drop. If they drop, we'll save money from year to year. So that was a recommendation from the bank. We might do it in 2 tranches, 42.5 1 year and 42.5 the next, or divide it into thirds. But we're going to take your recommendation as to what they recommend. I mean, we just closed on the road bond, and I think we're paying 2.85% or something is what we're paying. Right around there is what we're paying on the road bond, the 18 million. So it's not market rate, it's below it, but so.
Is that through the infrastructure bank?
It's through infrastructure bank. This will be through the infrastructure bank too. So this loan for the sewer will not go through, it doesn't go by the voters because we have to do it. With a road bond, it was a question everybody answered last year on the ballot. But we're mandated by the state to do the upgrades, so it does not have to go to the voters. We have to. The burden on that, the 85 million, falls right now. It's set up at 50-50. So 50% of the debt service goes to the taxpayers, everyone, and 50% of the debt service goes just to the sewer users. So there's only 40% of town that fall in the sewer district. So they would absorb 50% of the debt service, and the remaining 50% of the debt service goes to the whole town, because we have buildings and schools and everything else in the district we're responsible for. Plus, even if you have septic, everyone's sewage ultimately goes to the treatment plant. Because when you have your tank pumped, they bring the truck to the plant and it gets treated that way. So all sewage ends up there other than what gets treated in the ground through your system. So transfer station is the other enterprise. Facility repairs, we're actually getting pricing now. The building that you throw your trash in, if you've gone to the transfer station, we have to redo the roof. It's a 20-year roof that's close to 40 years old. So you can imagine there's water coming in it. So in the side of the building, it's almost $1 million project for the roof and the siding on the building, or the skin, the metal skin on the building. There's talks of potentially having to build a separate building for a recycling center, meaning to actually keep the recycling out of the weather, because when it's wet, you get contaminated loads. We pay fees at the Johnson landfill. However, there's another system, the legislation being presented at the state level for the state to completely take over the recycling program, meaning has nothing to do with the town. And the burden and the cost is going to be absorbed on a bottle recycling. There's going to be a cost deposit on bottles, and makers like Kellogg's, a Post that makes cereal boxes, they will bear some of the expense of the cost to recycle their box. So the burden gets dumped on the manufacturers, and the recycling program is totally taken away from every town and city. I just went to a meeting today on it, so it looks like it's going that direction, which would save us money, but ultimately we're paying somewhere else, you know how that goes. So that's basically, if you look down, so your capital requests. So again, you go down to that request 2027 and follow it all the way down to the bottom. And you look at that $42 million figure. Keep in mind that $42 million figure, and we could never afford $42 million in 1 year. The budget's only slightly over 100. $42 million figure incorporates the $28 million for the sewer side, right? Incorporates the $6 million for the road bond that's incorporated in there. And it also incorporates some funding on the water. Let me just get to it. The PFAS was $1 million, which we're hoping to get funding for. So, and then the tank rehab, no, the other one was the PFAS and lead services, $1 million on each of them. So if you take the big number dollars off of there, it's not $42 million. It doesn't come down to that. And it shows you the general fund. You can break it down by thing. The general fund side was 8 million. Water department was 4 million. You can see the sewer was 29 million, and the transfer station was 805,000. So then you go down to the next line. It says vehicle replacement plan, which is a breakdown of that big sheet I gave you at the back end. And that's just the payment we make on the lease programs for those. I mean, that's minimal in the grand scheme of things, but it's 167,000 to the PD, 15,000 to the department, the town hall vehicles, public works, highway and grounds is 227. Then it's 46 to highway recreation. And then you go down, the water department has 45, the sewer department has 45, and the transfer station is 288. So if you go down, there's a grand total at the bottom, but those are the vehicle replacement, that last section. Not that I babble for 15 minutes. I mean, I guess if you have, and again, we're setting up meet tomorrow and kind of go around and go through these things if anyone has any detailed questions. So I certainly don't expect you to absorb it all in my 10-minute spiel, but certainly if you have questions regarding it, let me know. Or if there's any questions regarding the school one, I can certainly revert it back to the school side if you have questions regarding their requests. It's pretty self-explanatory in their memo. It's not set up in the same type of spreadsheet, but it breaks it down into each of their asks.
So, the planning board's task here under the Westerly Town Ordinance 22-30 is, it talks about the process here. And we'll be evaluating under a number of different categories: protection of life, maintenance of the public health, and all that, which has already been done by the departments.
It's all broken down on those sheets. You can see it's kind of categorized in the percentages as far as importance.
Exactly. So we're just gonna be concurrent as to,
Yeah.
yeah, we agree with that assessment. Most of them, like when you're talking
Yeah.
drinking water and you're saying public health.
Right.
Protection of public life, it
Mhm.
all makes sense. So the next matter in here is that there's a review, and we are to report on this no later than December 15th of this year. So we have a little, we've got some time here, but not too much time. Under the ordinance, we're required to do an annual inspection, of which we're going to work with the town manager with the subcommittee and go that and provide a report back to the planning board. And then that's pretty much it.
Right.
The only.
Yeah, so your recommendation, I will go on before the finance board is usually how, it works.
Correct.
And then the finance board critiques it and then, then it goes to, council in the final step, so.
Now, there's one thing here, and on the top of each page of these worksheets, it says project must exceed $63,000. There are projects in here, because you're gracious enough to send us the spreadsheet.
Mm.
There are projects in there, requests in there that are below that
Right.
figure, so.
Again, it's only because we fund it per year, a certain amount per year, like you take the,
Well, the 25, yes, and under that scenario, the 25,000 for the town hall is one of those examples.
Right. yeah, that was a one-time request, so that
Correct.
wasn't funded.
But there,
Yeah.
there were some others that I noticed and.
So again, that's a parameter we use. If somebody is looking for a number under that, it's a one-time project, then you can fund it. I can fund it through the regular budget, right? As opposed to, example is the police department radar. It's been on there it's 5,000 a year. If you go 5 years, it's only a $50,000 program, but it keeps going and going and going because
But I pointed out for
Yeah.
this reason, I can't find anywhere in the ordinance where that figure shows.
it's
So
internal.
I don't know if that came out of, if
Yeah.
it came out of the finance department,
Yeah, that's
but
correct.
I think it's from our perspective for information for
Mhm.
us. Where did that number come from?
Yeah, it's creeped up. Yeah, it used to, I mean, I can remember when it was 39,000 and then it went to
Right.
40 something, then it went to 49. It went, so it's just parameters for departments to say, well, I can include this in my budget or should I make a capital request on it?
Correct.
So again, we don't hold everyone, I mean, 99% of these before you were over that amount, that table amount, but you will see a few that aren't.
So anyway, that's our process. That's what we're gonna be going through. And we will get it on to you, back to you, Mr. Manager, so we can send it on to the finance board for December.
Before we get,
I'd just like to bring up that the planning board's meeting is on the 16th of December. So I don't know how that falls into the schedule with the finance board.
No, you have time. If you do it the 16th, it's fine. I mean, I think the 15th date is just set. It's not a big deal if it's the 16th.
that's,
And we may get it to you before that.
Yeah, that's
what I
fine.
was gonna tell you.
Right,
That
that's-
16th is when we're gonna vote to do it. You were all gung ho to get it on time and I was like, I don't think we're gonna make that date.
Yeah, the 16th is fine. It doesn't be put
We'll do it
together for
before.
finance until January anyway, so you have time.
Yeah.
But I guess does everyone, I mean, I'm talking 100 miles an hour. Does you understand how I'm breaking it down? I mean, I know it's familiar to me, so I can rattle through it, but if you're looking at all these numbers, sometimes it can make your head spin.
Well, I know we have a few of us that have gone through this before.
Yeah,
Been
yeah.
around it a couple of times. and I was a few that this is the first time you're going through this. It's a lot to take in. The manager went through a lot of the numbers. One of the things that I want to point out that he went through and highlighted at the end is that not all of these are budgetary numbers coming out of the budget. A lot of them are bond numbers and to his credit, he pointed out the ones that are voted on versus the ones that are state mandated that we've had to take out.
Even if we're borrowing the money, we have to include it all in the capital budget. You
But
can't.
Just for and it's a good point, but the numbers don't, we are not, our job is
Yeah.
not to evaluate the numbers. And to say is a good number, a bad number, is it too much, is not too much. Our
Exactly.
job is to look at the comprehensive plan.
Yep.
And what we have for the comprehensive plan of the town of Westerly and to provide guidance on it that is
Exactly.
consistent with a comprehensive plan.
Mhm.
And it meets the
Yeah.
criteria as laid out
Right.
in the ordinance.
I only bring it up for the point when
Yeah.
you're weighing those categories and you're looking at, as they're listed out on each one of the pages, those categories A through I that are listed out.
Yep.
And you're looking at those costs, reflect on that aspect of it. Some of these are already voted on by the taxpayers if they're bond related issues.
Mhm.
They understand where that money's coming from.
The good news, we get to see how big the breadbasket is when we're seeing all those numbers, but
Exactly.
we don't deal with them.
Right, yeah, ours is not, and at the end of the day, we're making a recommendation to the manager, who's gonna take that recommendation back to the town council.
Mhm.
Town council is gonna be the one that votes on, which budgetary items they're gonna fund for the fiscal year. We're just making a recommendation. Madam Planner, is something else you want to cover? Does anyone else have any questions for the town manager?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Just following through this on, line item 30 under townwide, technology improvements.
Town
for the
GIS.
GIS system.
Mhm.
So if that's townwide, and then we look under water department for line item number 43, so is
Two different systems.
two different, okay, so
The
townwide
GIS
is
system
not
is a
townwide.
mapping system for the town on the
Yeah.
town side. The one on the water side is, or the sewer side is strictly for water line and strictly for sewer line, because they have, it's all part of the same system, keep in mind, but it's completely different entities in it, and it has to be funded. So if we're gonna do mapping of the drainage system, it falls under highway. If we do the mapping for sewer, it falls under the sewer department. If we do mapping for the water side, it has to fall under the water side. That's who will pay for it. That's the budget. It's the same pool of money, but it comes out of the individual respective bonds.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for the town manager? On any specific items? If there are additional questions as you're going through this that we do have, we can route those questions through the town planner. And she can get answers back from the town manager. If there's any specific questions as you're going through it, or back through John, since he's gonna be out with the town manager and putting together the report. Or Harry or James.
I just have a question as to what you want to do on December 2nd with regards to this matter.
We'll
We're gonna have your report back on December 2nd.
work, yeah.
Just report.
Yeah, so we'll report back and
Yeah.
that way we
And
can.
if you need me to come back, I can come back to another meeting. It doesn't, that's fine. I don't mind.
Yeah, so I think report back on December 2nd. And that way we'll have, be able to have our discussion, our recommendations. And that way you'll be able to draft our letter for us to be able to vote on for the 16th. Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
just as a point of clarity, so by the 2nd, the subcommittee will be reporting back to just this committee.
correct,
Correct, thank you.
yes.
Yeah.
And the hope is that each one of us will have gone through this information by then. We'll be able to have a discussion both on the subcommittee's findings, our recommendations, and be able to come up with a comprehensive list of what we find our priorities to be, so that the planner can draft our memorandum to go back to the town manager that we can vote on the 16th.
Good?
I have one question.
Yeah.
Are there any particular areas, I mean, I looked over it this past weekend, but it's a lot, like you said. Are there any particular areas we should really dig into and look at that might come under scrutiny or might be contentious or, are kind of 50-50?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at, like I mentioned, the lead service replacement and the PFAS. Do you look at those and say, they have to both be tackled, but can we afford to tackle them in 1 year? Meaning fund them both, or should we finish the lead first and then jump into the PFAS? Because we're in litigation. Again, the numbers are here. Is the total, is everything in there able to be funded? It'd be nice if we could, but I don't know that we can. I think everything listed here is important. I mean, there's some things you can look at and think, wow, could that technically wait? Could that technically wait a year? Yeah, it could if we needed to. If we had to cut corners somewhere, then you could certainly shave things off these. But I mean, I think they're all important projects. I mean, I think it's like anything else. I mean, John can tell you when you dealt with the Charter Revision Commission. I mean, there was a question came up. We like to try to, the thought process was to allocate 4% of the overall budget into capital improvements, right? Well, if we're at 100 million, it's $4 million. We exceed that by most of the time double every single year. So we're never at that 4% threshold. We far exceed that. And again, some of this is playing catch up. I mean, it's just, you want to maintain our structures and facilities along the way so we don't have to tear things down and replace them or start over, right? So, but again, you can only sustain so much. I mean, we're relying on the taxpayers to pay all this. I mean, so.
Well, the level of capital investment that this town has made
Mm.
over the last 10 years, the level of maintenance increase that we've spent
Right.
on in the last 10 years. And even when you look at, if you think 10 years ago, you would see town vehicles that look some pretty tough, right? And now you see
Yeah.
good tools in the
Right.
hands of our employees that are safe. We don't have to worry about a truck that's how many miles on the
We
truck.
put a life expectancy on it, yeah.
We don't have those things anymore because we've been consistently making those investments.
Right.
But the Charter Revision Commission did talk about, along with finance, about the 4% on capital. And the reason for that is you don't necessarily have the leadership and the management that you have today.
And there's no cap.
In the
You
future,
could
right?
fund nothing.
So
I
you
mean, the
just want
school,
to,
I know the school side, they have to match at least 3% for the latest bond that we're under. I mean, that's part of the requirements under the, Rhode Island Education Department. But again, their requests even exceed their minimal request. I mean, again, you look at the book that the 137 million, that just shows you some of the shortfalls that we've had over the years. I mean, there's, so. Take a look at it and let you know your thoughts. But anyway, James, there's nothing, I mean, they're all important projects. Again, they all, could some move on to, bounce a year? Yeah. I mean, they could technically, if we're far exceeding what the cap is, we want to put on capital requests. Good?
Thank you, Sean.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your time this evening.
Thank you. See you.
Okay. Our next order of business this evening is item E2, 2024 LMIH 07 Comprehensive Permit Preliminary Plan for Sorrow Service Street Multifamily Residential Development, 8 Service Street, Assessors Map 37, Lot 12. This is a review, discussion, and possible action and/or continuation by the planning board on a comprehensive permit. Continuation of a public hearing from July 15th, 2025 and September 16th, 2025. The applicant has consented to an extension of time to December 16th. Yes, it comes on. Whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the planning board. Attorney William Nardone on behalf of the applicant, Peter Frazzaro, who is present this evening. Also with me is the development team, Sarah Brittner from Terenzi and Associates, Rebecca Nolan, who is our landscape architect, and Peter, as I said, the applicant. This is an application for a comprehensive permit. We're here for preliminary hearing. And briefly, I want to address the initial comments that the town planner had made with respect to the letter of eligibility. It isn't funny, but it just seems to be the way things happen lately. Mr. Frazzaro did complete the application for a letter of eligibility, which is a requirement in a comprehensive permit. And that application gets submitted to Rhode Island Housing. He submitted the application in November of 2024. Got some quick response, needed to do some modification. Didn't hear anything after that until we got this notice from Nancy, reminder that we needed those, which we're aware of. So we contacted Rhode Island Housing and were informed that unfortunately, the employee to whom this was assigned passed away and no one picked up his workload apparently. So the application just sat there. Fortunately, within 2 days of us contacting Rhode Island Housing, they got back to Mr. Fazzaro, and that is all in process, and we should have it well in advance of December 2, so we can get it to Nancy and get it to you before the next hearing. With respect to the monitoring agent agreement and the sample affordability restrictions, those are standard documents required with all of these applications. And I've spoken personally with Melina Lodge at Rhode Island Community Housing Trust, who will be the monitoring agent. And she assures me that we will have those maybe as soon as the end of this week. So we'll have those in plenty of time for the next meeting as well. We'll get those to Nancy as soon as we have them. That was a first for me. The unfortunate circumstance with that application with Rhode Island Housing. So as I said, this is a comprehensive permit. The property is located at 8 Service Street, consists of 0.65 acres. It's currently improved with 1 two-family house, and there is a garage on the property, and I believe a shed. The garage will remain, the shed will be taken down. The property is located in the HDR 6 zoning district, which is high-density residential. The proposal is to construct 3 additional 2 families, 3 duplexes, and that would give us a total of 8 units, 25% of which would be designated low to moderate income, so it would be 2 units. The other question, which was raised in the memo, excuse me, and we have the response for that this evening, is whether or not, because the existing 2 units are not being rehabbed, are they considered part of the comp permit? And in fact, can we even do a comp permit that way? Confirmed with Melina Lodge today that as long as the LMI units are part of the 6 new units, then it qualifies and we can proceed. And that's been the plan from the beginning, that the 2 required LMI units will be 2 of the new units. So that is responsive to that inquiry. We are asking for some waivers with respect to the development itself, with respect to impervious surface and the density. The maximum impervious surface for development in this zone of this size is 40%, and our proposal is 44.1%. So we would be asking for a waiver of that. We're also asking for relief from some of the setbacks as shown on the plans. The structures will be connected to town water and sewer. The structures will also be designed as rentals and not to be sold, at least initially. We're proposing that the development be in 2 phases. The first phase would consist of the construction of one of the new buildings, together with all of the associated site improvements, infrastructure, stormwater management, landscaping, et cetera. Phase 2 would be the construction of the other 2 units. With respect to the standards to be met in a comprehensive permit. They are detailed, as are the waiver requests, in the project narrative that was submitted as part of the application package, specifically on page 4 of 6 of the proposed conditions. I'm happy to go through all of them, but not my understanding, and I will confirm this evening, that all of the documents that have been submitted are part of your record, and will be considered in any deliberation. The standards are set forth with respect to the density, the relief sought, maximum surface, impervious surface. Those are the waivers for which we'll be requesting relief. The proposed development is consistent with the local needs as identified in the comprehensive plan. We've addressed that standard, and clearly it is. It's consistent with the local needs set forth in the plan. Multifamily development will result in affordable housing opportunities within walking distance of many downtown amenities, including library, municipal services, town hall, restaurants, et cetera. Services that are provided with respect to the housing development within walking distance. We're in compliance with the provisions of the zoning ordinance and land development and subdivision regulations, consistent with the comp plan and the zoning code based upon the relief that we're requesting. The low to moderate income units will be integrated within the development. As we've indicated, the 2 LMI units will be within the new buildings. It won't be one building containing 2 LMI units. There'll be a single LMI unit in one of the buildings and another one in one of the other buildings, but each will be in the new structures, not in the existing structure. The plans, site plans, architectural plans are all consistent with the requirements. Stormwater management system has been designed consistent with RIDEM, and Sarah can address details on that. No specific impacts. We're complying with all negative impacts. We're complying with all of the DEM requirements. And as far as creating lots in a subdivision or not including any individual lots, those 2 standards don't apply because it's one lot. We're not building a road, and we're not creating any subdivision. With respect to our appearance before the Architectural Review Board, which was in July, the ARB had some suggestions for us, and the architect who was unable to appear tonight, Travis Serra, his plans have been submitted, and when Rebecca reviews the landscape plan, she'll touch on some of those items. But each of these suggestions made by the ARB have been incorporated in the plans, and I believe Nancy referenced that in her memo to you. We had suggested a waiver of the requirement for a landscape plan. The ARB did not grant that, and resulting in us retaining Rebecca Nolan, registered landscape architect, and she prepared plans, which she will review with you. The ARB suggested that the buildings should have some additional windows on the sides on both floors to provide additional light into the structures, additional natural light. And you will see that the plans, if you've reviewed them, you'll see tonight as well, the additional windows have been included on each of the new structures. There was also a recommendation that the patio at grade to the rear of the structures be extended the entire length of the building, and that small storage lockers be included at the back of each building between, the patios. That suggestion was also incorporated, and you'll see that on the plans. And they recommended that meters, utilities, garbage containers be screened, and all that, I believe, is also shown on the plans. So to the extent ARB made recommendations, we addressed each one and complied with their suggestions. So with that more detailed introduction than I had planned, I'm going to ask Sarah to review the existing site conditions and the proposed site plan. You gotta speak very close to them.
Good evening, Sarah Brittner from Trenzi and Associates. I'm a project engineer with them. So right now, the existing conditions is as Bill Nardone pointed out, that it's an existing structure, two-family structure. There's also a garage and a shed. It is a developed portion of land. The existing two-family structure will remain, the garage will remain, but the shed will be removed. So our proposal is for, as Mr. Nardone pointed out, we're going to be adding 3 additional structures that will be 2 duplexes for two-bedroom duplex for each structure. This will then require parking for those structures, which will consist of 2 spaces per unit, which you'll see on the plan. As well as 2 parking spaces per unit for the existing structure as well, which you can also see on the plan as well. Both that was passed out to you, but also on the screen. From there, we'll discuss grading. The next sheet. This is our drainage plan. All of the site drains right now from the north to the south. Right now, we're still proposing that same thing, so we're limiting the amount of grading that we're doing. We're going to grade everything into a sediment forebay that will then go into a control structure, which will then go into an underground infiltration system. That system has been worked out to the capacity of a 100-year storm. If on the event that something does drain, it'll drain into a pipe, into a level spreader. Not very likely, but it is designed for the 100-year storm. The utilities on the site will be consistent of public sewer and public water. Both have been discussed with DPW. Both hold capacity for those structures. We are also bringing in an electric line to a transformer on site via an overhead wire, and then underground to each structure. As you will see, there is impervious surface for the drives and some pavers for in front of their duplexes. As Mr. Nardone pointed out, we are over our impervious surface, which is a waiver we are looking for, as well as the setback requirements, as you'll see on the plan, more poignantly on the north portion. And in order to fit the building, we had to shift everything up. There was without compromising depth and width of their drives. So that is also another relief that we are acquiring. And with that, I think I am done. Also with RIDEM, we have reached out to RIDEM. RIDEM said that because we are under the 10,000 square foot threshold, we are not required to go to them for the RIDEM underground, the UIC permit.
What I forgot to mention is that this is clearly consistent with the surrounding neighborhood, which is made up essentially of single-family, two-family, and three-family houses, which have been in the area for quite some time. It's a north end with many smaller lots and multifamily homes as well. I don't know if you want to have any questions for Sarah, if you want to wait until the landscape architect is has completed her presentation.
Might be better to wait, and let everyone go
Okay.
through the presentations and then ask them all at once.
Okay.
It's very small.
Good evening, everyone. Rebecca Nolan, landscape architect licensed in Rhode Island, based in Pawcatuck, Connecticut. I think Bill and Sarah covered a lot of the existing conditions, but just wanted to comment briefly on the existing property is currently mostly maintained as lawn, with some very invasive vines and shrubs along the perimeter. Very few evergreen trees. So really, from the back to from the north to the south, essentially all along the rear property line, which would then be the west property line, just filled with invasives that really are more deciduous in nature, so not really providing much of a buffer. There is one tree on the property that is worth saving if it can be saved. Otherwise, everything else is Norway maples. They crack and fall down. A lot of things that are already fallen. As part of this project, I went out to the site and actually tagged all of the trees to be removed with pink tape, as well as, anything sapling and upward that was worth saving. There is not very many plants that are really worth saving on the site. In terms of the existing building, it's an older style building, but very consistent with whatever else is in, that area of the neighborhood. There is a change in grade that I believe Sarah mentioned from the north of the property to the south. And so, as part of this project, we'll be working to kind of ameliorate that grade as it, so that we can sit the buildings within the site. I'm gonna just go through some of the landscape elements to just note that while the driveway is impermeable, it's over top of the stormwater system. All of the paver areas are permeable. We're using permeable pavers there, no concrete. They're on a flexible setting base. And also of note, we're combining the entryways to the duplexes. So they're shared, further kind of reducing the amount of hardscape needed here. A few elements, you'll notice there's a wall at on the north side of the property. There's actually an existing wall there now, so we would be tying into that existing wall. And then on the southern property line, again, another smaller retaining wall. Organizing the parking in front of the buildings, and then creating space along the sides of the buildings to protect, storage areas, trash, things like that. So there's access to the rear of the buildings. One of the comments from the ARB was related to to creating a patio in the back. In the previous rendition, there was a patio all along the back. Currently, what we're showing to work a little bit better with the grades here is decking that the grade can slope down underneath them. And so there's the grade kind of slopes underneath the decks in the rear. I can show you a photo of that from Travis's presentation. So you can see we're not talking about a very large deck, and we're really not talking about coming up that high in the front. So really trying to fit these three duplexes into the existing topography on the site. Because of the constraints, one of the things that we have provided in the center area where we do need to use that space for stormwater, it can still be maintained as an open lawn area. And that is one of the flattest areas on the site. So that's the area you're looking at in the middle. Adding street trees along Service Street as well as in the interior. So we've got the two proposed street trees along the frontage of Service Street to kind of create that streetscape that doesn't technically exist right now. There's an existing garage that will stay. And then along the southwest area where we're down here by units 1 and 2, that's where we're creating a evergreen buffer that essentially doesn't exist on the site now. So right now it is overgrown, lots of vines, some deciduous shrubs, but nothing within the property boundaries that it's providing any sort of buffer. So that's where we're creating our mixed buffer in that section. And then wrapping around to the rear of the property, which is actually the north, that is some existing shrubbery that we can keep in that area, but also trying to keep the existing edge of the buffer, even though it's invasives right now, keeping the where that boundary is currently. I think one other note is just that in between each of the duplexes, we're trying to show, separation between them. Obviously, these are, we are trying to minimize views into and from some of the units. There's trees, flowering trees in the in between 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, as well as between 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then along the boundary of the parking areas, we're showing a 5-foot mow strip, really to give us extra buffer, snow storage, things if we need it. So I think that's that kind of covers most of the landscape items I wanted to mention. We're very close to meeting the impervious requirement, which is 44%. We're at 40.1. I think some of the necessary hardscape that we have here is, an improvement to the, even though we're not redoing the existing building, we are redoing the landscape and the and some of the walls around it to kind of connect it to the new buildings that we're putting out there. I don't know if this is of interest to this group, but these are some of the trees. Things that, stay fairly small along the street because it is an existing streetscape. The buildings are very close to the street. There are wires. So we're looking at smaller species that kind of max out at 15, 20 feet. With the buffer, again, I talked about a mixed buffer using deciduous and evergreens. So to give it kind of a more natural look rather than just a hedge of arborvitae. And then a mixture of native shrubs and grasses, areas where we can add some color around the front of the buildings. We've done that. But I think, overall, I would just highlight that this, the design of the buildings themselves and where they sit on the site was looked at with the topography in mind, as well as the existing streetscape and the abutting properties. So, I think some of the relief we're asking for is really related to, how we can fit the buildings on the site most appropriately without having to add walls and things that are going to make the site feel overdeveloped. So I'm happy to answer any other questions if I missed anything.
Thank you. Start down with more.
It's a nice project. I think we're probably gonna have to look at helping them with some sort of a variance, both on the impervious surfaces and also on the setbacks. When we look at trying to come in through this, from the street, and there's a portion of old wall that's going to be left next to, the entrance as you first come in, while other areas in the driveway or turn are shown at 22 feet, it's really tight right there. And if they'd be allowed to maybe displace one or two of the dwellings a little further away and kind of relieve that pinch point, I think that would help. Otherwise, really not too much here in the plan, but that just seems to be really tight. You know, think about things like not just the people that live there, but they order things, things get delivered. You could have sizable trucks, but what if an ambulance has to get in there and that little wall is in the way, and then you have that drainage feature on the other side? Kind of a sticky situation for everybody. I think that might help. Also on the Sharenza and Associates document, on page 6 of 6, I think I have this right. When we look at the stormwater management, M&O plans, et cetera, and these 3 items are shown as being delivered under a separate cover later. When will we be able to see those?
Yes,
I don't think it's a showstopper. I think it's just more for confirmation on our side.
yes, those will be delivered. There's actually like, even though you see the soil and erosion control plan there, there's actually a more like in-depth document that'll go with that
Right, the
as well as
definitive
the, yeah.
report, yep.
Yeah.
So do you have a feel for when those may be available?
Ideally by December 2nd.
Yes,
So,
right.
Okay.
You'll
So
have
along
that
with
in with the
everything
rest of
else
the
that we're
documents,
still
so you-
waiting for?
so you'll have it in advance of the 16th
Mhm. All right, thank you.
conclusion.
Sorry?
Yeah.
I really like the architecture on this, and all the landscaping looks really nice. Looks like a good project. My question is about the setbacks. Particularly on the north side, it looks like there is a home relatively close, actually on sort of all the angles. Have there been conversations with the abutters, with the neighbors? Has there been any communication with people nearby in regards to these setbacks?
When we were first here, there were some neighbors inquiring, looking at the plan. I don't know if anyone is here this evening to speak, but I'm sure the chairman will ask. I was under the impression that some may have come to the planning office once these plans were submitted, so they've had an opportunity to see them. I haven't had any communication from anyone inquiring either pro or con.
Another question on the existing garage. Is that, I see there's spaces, parking spaces on the side for the existing 2 families. So is the garage, can you drive into it? Or is it just for storage?
So for the existing building to the north of the building, there's 2 spaces. And then to the south, there's 2 spaces, and those will be for the existing structure. As far as the garage, there is space to park there, but I don't believe it will be for parking.
Currently just used for storage and will continue to be.
That's all my question.
Eric?
I think it's a beautiful project as well. Can someone just point out the existing wall that we're speaking of, as well as the retaining wall that's being installed? I see the retaining wall. Where's the?
Why don't we have them pointed on the screen?
Yeah.
So that way people at home see it, since that's being displayed for everybody at home. To answer the
Oh,
question.
Okay.
I think. Just wanna see like. That's what I was thinking too, but it's.
On the other plan.
I think you're looking for
Probably that
plan
aerial-
C
that
two.
Aerial photo is probably the best one to show it.
Yeah,
Yep, there it is.
right there,
Move a little bit.
right along here.
And Maurice, what was your suggestion for that?
Because of where that wall is, when you first come in off
Yep.
and start to make the turn, you see that kind of hashed area that looks like a crosswalk.
Right.
And then you see like a 90-degree perpendicular kick that comes off of that. That's a piece of the wall.
Okay.
And then you proceed north and west from there. And then it makes a turn to the north, and that's a clear unhashed line. That is, I believe, a higher portion of the wall. So where the roadway is shown at 22 feet across, when you first come through that first turn, it's less. So if they were able to perhaps have a variance on the setbacks from the drawing west side and be able to drift those two units back away a little bit and bring that drainage feature drawing south down a little bit and give them a little relief on the percentage of impermeable surfaces so they can widen that and maybe get that 22 feet excess to be like a homogeneous, dimension, steady dimension all the way through. I think it would make it easier instead of someone trying to get out and then find themselves in a diminishing turn.
Drifting the whole thing.
So just drift it over a little bit.
Yeah, I got that.
Thank you for the clarification. No more questions.
Basically just saying if you wanted to widen your road a little bit, you're asking for a dimensional variance for one side.
Mhm.
He's saying the possibility would exist to ask for it on the other side as well. If you're asking for one.
Mhm.
They wrong
I
question?
think the only concern.
John? Okay, James, go ahead.
Specifically, just want to talk about the relief you guys have requested here. I mean, the housing density, 7.9 units, and you're requesting 8. That's, to my mind's eye, good enough for government work. Regarding the setbacks, I mean, in my world, we have these setback requirements that we all, kind of agree to play by. These are rules that we've agreed to play by. You're here asking for the rules to be bent, obviously. What, other than, wanting to fit as many units as possible on this property, what are the reasons you're requesting relief? Specifically with the setbacks to start.
You want me
You got that?
Yeah, I could. I just didn't know if you were gonna
No.
tackle that one.
I'm just looking at the front setback isn't changing.
Yeah, so one of the reasons why, while yes, to get that extra building, but one of the other reasons to get it is in order to get parking for that building. So everything has to kind of shift in order to make the width of the requirement of a driveway. So because of that, yes, everything shifts, and that's really the main reason is to fit that building, but also fit the required width of a road, the required widths of the parking, and so on and so forth.
Okay, I mean, to my mind's eye, if you have 3 units versus 4, and I don't know the economics of this, what works for you financially, if you need 4 units, 4 buildings, sorry, not units, 4 buildings to make it work, but, if you had 3 buildings instead of 4, you are not, there's no discussion on any of these. I drove through the area recently. There are a lot of, single structures on lots, other than Falco, which is fairly nearby. I didn't see a lot of lots that had multiple units, multiple buildings. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say units, multiple buildings. You know, the impervious surface, relief request, that's a big one, especially, because the property is within, our aquifer and wellhead protection overlay. So I mean, it's a lot of problems are solved if it's 3 units and not 4. All of the relief requests go away. And so, like I said, when I started, these are the rules that we kind of all agree to play by. I try to follow those rules, and if we're asking to bend them, I like to see like a real need for them, other than we want to just squeeze as many as possible on one property. So that is all from me.
This question, and I'm gonna ask my 2 colleagues here who have experience with emergency equipment, with fire equipment. How wide are these driveways? In other words, have you just had discussions with the fire department as far as getting a vehicle in and getting a vehicle out without having to back it out? Or
We have a letter from the fire chief.
I don't,
Teresa get a letter
I
from
don't know. I think she might have, but I don't know.
How wide is it?
Yeah, I mean, could you get a ladder truck in there and stick all 4 of those buildings? Yes.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
we know how big the ladder
You could get a fire truck in
Yeah,
there.
yeah, I mean, yes, that's not my primary concern. My primary concern is we're 4.5 feet from the side when the
Oh, I've got that
variance is
concern too.
20 feet.
I share that concern too, but from an emergency, I just didn't see from the drawings, right?
Yeah, a good driver could get
I
it.
can't tell from the drawings.
I mean, again, I looked at the property. It's not a huge,
not a huge
it's
problem.
difficult
I
to
think we should mention the comprehensive.
figure it out on paper, but
Comprehensive.
yes, a good driver should be able to get it.
Okay.
You want to? Okay, go ahead.
So one thing I do want to note is the comprehensive permit allows for a reduced setback. It allows for an impervious overage.
If I can clarify perhaps, Mr.
does.
Chairman.
It does, but the setback is what, 15 feet? And this,
If I can clarify, Mr. Chairman, it's just because there's been some terminology thrown around. So there's been some discussion about whether this is a dimensional variance or a variance you have to grant to the applicant. To clarify, the new law has changed the terminology. We don't consider it that way anymore. It used to be you were the one-stop shop. So if it was zoning relief that was needed, they'd come to see you and you'd give a dimensional variance and you'll also give the project approval. The terminology is now called an adjustment, which is different, only in the sense that it's different terminology. And so let me give you the definition first of what an adjustment is. Adjustment means a request or requests by the applicant to seek relief from the literal use and dimensional requirements of the municipal zoning ordinance and/or the design standards or requirements of the municipal land development and submission regulations. And the standard for the granting of that is contained within the next section. So that's 4553(3) definition number 1. Then you go to 4553(4), the section on how you grant preliminary. Finding number 2 is whether the proposed development is in compliance with the standards and provisions of the municipality's zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations, and/or where adjustments are requested by the applicant, whether the local concerns that have been affected by the relief granted do not outweigh the state and local need for low and moderate income housing. So you have this need for low and moderate income housing. If the relief they're requesting doesn't outweigh that need, you grant the project.
I would also like to ask the engineer for some clarification. Because it seems to me that a great deal of effort has been made to place these units on the site, even though the site has changes in grade. And I think that might have something to do with where the buildings are located. Secondly, the front yard setback is an existing condition, so they're just asking that they put that on the list. The setbacks for the rear and the other side are actually to the patio themselves. I just want to point that out, not to the actual building. The buildings are just, those two buildings are just slightly into the setback requirement, but it's really because of the access to the basements. These are all have full basements now, probably for mostly storage purposes and mechanicals. And there's access to the basement from the rear, as well as those patios that are of varying heights above the ground because of the topography. So I would say that that's probably part of it.
Yes, that's accurate. So our initial submittal had a lot more detailed grading. We were cutting a lot more, building a lot more. So we tried to work in with the natural grade of the lawn.
Nancy, quick clarification. The 4.5 feet side setback setback proposal where a 20-foot setback is typically required, you're saying that's a 15-foot patio?
Let's see, I'm not on the right page. Let me see.
I measured it, yes, 12.5, so you end up with about 3 feet shy of the setback is where the house ends up being.
Can you zoom in?
Okay.
Yeah,
That's what I was gonna point out here in a second.
yeah, that's
Okay.
Beat me to it.
it's to the patio. Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
4.5.
The
four
four-
feet.
I think it's like, I think
Four
it's
point-
17 feet to that.
4.7, I think.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
It's-
were
it's like-
those added at the request of the ARB?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
yes.
got it.
But I'm gonna further ask the question, at least on duplex one, do they have to be in the back? In other words, does this all have to, could they be on the sides of the house? As opposed to no, I'm asking the applicant the question.
Yeah, I understand.
So, do they have to be in the back? Can they be on the sides of the house, one on each side, and achieve the same thing, create an environment? Yeah, then I go to the front, but this is empty. It's not near someone's house. So toward the right side of duplex one, you notice there's nothing out there. It's just empty land, and it's not getting close to someone's property, someone's building, home. So we're gaining exactly what we have. So the only thing we have on the backside then is you just have those bulkheads, which are used probably infrequently. So again, I think we're staying, I share the same concern about that setback, it's only 4.5 feet to the property line. Or 4.7 currently from that building and from the deck area. So that would be mine. I appreciate that we'd like things to look uniform, but sometimes you work with what you work with. If you look at most of the older neighborhoods there, you'll see decks on the sides of houses, decks in the backs of houses, et cetera, but they're all trying to stay close or within those setbacks that currently exist.
I think just a clarification. So one of the things that had come up in the ARB meeting, and then some of the comments that came in from the public, were related to the duplex 3. And so one of the things we tried to do in the next iteration was to pull everything as far away from the southern property line as we could. It also coincidentally helps with grading to pull everything up because the buildings can kind of sit into the topography, as I mentioned. It's not relevant to this application for But I think it's worth noting that the applicant also owns the property behind it. So that, you know, he has an existing wall that sits on that property line currently. It goes to about this point here where I don't know if you can see that. And so what we would be doing is tying the new wall into his existing wall, essentially. And that's also why we were comfortable, you know, asking for the most relief on that side setback.
So-
Because
So that structure that we see, if you go up, if you could pull that down a little bit so we can see it. That structure there,
so Peter, the owner's property is this one here behind where we're proposing to put the new wall along the property line. This property is owned by a relative.
Right. He's saying that the one where it's the closest to that property line is that one. Because see where the line is between the two.
and the other one, but if you go and look at where is that deck? Well, okay, so I understand that the 4.7 is there. So what's the other measurement that you have there to the right? Right there. What's that measurement?
This measurement here is 5.
5 foot. So
Yeah, it's close.
It-
Yeah.
real close. Yeah,
But again, that's to the deck, not to the building itself.
right.
Um,
So,
Can I make a suggestion?
sure, go.
I'm gonna try to help Paul out in the back of the room for the ARB here. Can we maybe split the baby and end this discussion? How about this? Maybe don't make the decks as wide out. Make the deck a little narrower, extend them a little bit further to the side of the building, so you get the same square footage of the deck. They extend a little further out, they're set back a little bit further back from the property line. So we move them a little bit further away. They extend a little bit further to the side, they're still in the back, Paul.
Yeah,
But maybe they come out a little bit of a wing.
So.
Stone patio doesn't count.
Go with it. I can do that too. You put a stone patio.
The stone patio doesn't count on those ones, because that does not count as part of the setback.
Right.
We good?
so I think, yeah,
Make them paver?
what I'm trying to address though is that the relief we're asking for is because of the topography
Right, no,
and the existing wall, that's why it's in that area. But I think regardless of whether you have a deck or
Yeah.
a patio,
and then it becomes a 3-foot relief, I think, is what the measurement ends up being, I think, in that one corner,
right?
I think at the end of the day, right? Is that more acceptable, a 3-foot relief in that corner? Do we have a consensus?
Shrink the, your patio.
So.
I love compromise. Anytime we can come to compromise in a meeting, it's great.
All counts.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions that you have?
No, I just comment and
Okay.
I think it's, you know, it's a lot in the area, but I think what you're proposing, and if you look at the imagery that's associated with it, I think it looks good in that area. My last concern is on impervious surface in that area. And you're only over by 4%. So if we can steal it from somewhere, that would be great.
Yeah.
But
I think
you know.
there's definitely I would love to get the impervious down to that 40.1. You know, one of the things that we could look at, you know, is some of the parking spaces that are for the existing 2-family. And then again, some of the existing asphalt driveway when we first come in. So there could be some opportunity there to put in something more permeable.
And you're tearing down a shed, that's involved in the
No.
calculation.
The
That
shed
becomes-
is, yeah, the
that
shed
becomes
is kind of
pervious
on
space.
back.
But
Yep.
that's, you're calculating that.
Yep.
Okay. But other than that, I think it's a good project. Thank you.
And there is just of note down here in the corner, there is an existing foundation there. So there was a building there at one time. There's a shed. Yeah, so, that foundation would be coming out as part of this work. And so we already need to do site work in that area. Hence why putting the walls in both on the southern boundary as well as on the northern boundary, we would need to do that site work anyway, with any development that we do here to secure the site, so.
So I just have a couple of questions before we open this up to the public. You mentioned that all the landscaping was going to go in phase one. Is it everything or just the majority of it around the, we're not going to put in everything around where the buildings that aren't going in phase one are, right? We're going to leave the stuff going around the buildings is not going in, right?
Exactly,
And I'm
yes.
assuming
So
the
it's
trees in between the buildings.
the
probably-
perimeter landscaping, anything to create the buffers, the required buffers for the project. Those would go in as part of phase one.
Okay, and anything in between.
Which is really the majority of the landscape scope of this project. There's, kind of embellishment in between the buildings, some small trees, but the majority of the landscape is around the perimeter and along Service Street.
Okay. What's the timing between phase one and phase two? Is that unknown at this time? Do we have an idea?
There,
I'd like to do them all in one shot if I could. you
Okay.
know. That's my ideal plan, is to do them all in one shot, but.
Okay.
So would there, I would get one done and then the other two would be on the.
Would be the next,
Yeah.
just following along. Okay.
But just to note, I think the important piece there is the stormwater has to be done with phase one. And so that is the big chunk of construction that needs to get.
I assume the retaining walls will all go in as part of phase one also?
Correct.
Thank you.
All right. And the LMI units, would those go in as part of phase one or would they?
There'll
50%
be-
of them going as phase
there'll be
one?
two LMI units, and technically under their rules and recommendations, they shouldn't be in
Be in
one
the same-
building.
Yeah. So they have
So
to go.
be one in one of the new buildings and one in the other building.
and
Also-
They're not going in the existing building. You said they're going.
No,
in.
they're going to be in the new buildings.
Got it.
One will have to be in first duplex that is built and occupied, and the other one could be in another one.
Got it. Okay. So at this time, like to open the meeting up to the public. If we have any members of the public that would like to speak on this matter, you can come up to the what's that? Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. We do have to have a motion open this for the public. There you go, before I.
But keep telling,
Oh, yeah. So once we open it to the public, I'll have everyone that like to speak on the matter, they can come up to the podium and state your name, your address for the record, so we can get it on the record, and you can speak your matter to the board, not directly to the applicant. And then we'll address the applicant afterwards and allow the applicant to respond to any questions that came in from the public.
Mr. Chairman, I motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Bye.
All right. Now I'd like to open it up to the public. Any members of the public like to speak, please step to the podium.
Good evening, Rose Vandover, 20 Top Street. I'm a town councilor, but I'm here as a concerned citizen. I just have a couple of questions. I just want to, actually, I'm going to ask you one question. I'm just going to ask if you could answer it because then it leads into my next question. So there are 2 units, 2-bedroom. Is there only 1 parking spot for each unit or 2 parking spot per unit? That's my first question. So,
There is 2 parking spots per unit.
Okay.
On the plans.
okay, so then that answers my other question. And what's the gross living area on these? Like, as far as how wide is each unit? Is it 15 foot, 14 foot? I just can't see your dimensions from where I sit. Actually, maybe I could. So 16 foot per unit across the front? Okay. 28 by 16?
16, 28 by 16.
Approximately 28 by 16.
Okay, that's answers my question. Thank you.
I just want to verify with the engineer that's correct, right? 28 by 16? What would I add to it? Are there any other members of the public that wish to speak on this matter? Okay, hearing none. Before I close this, just going to ask,
I would give the applicant one more opportunity to put anything else they want in. Ask the board members if they have anything else, or if they
Yes.
need any other information, then you can entertain a motion.
thank you. Do you have anything else, Attorney Narone, that you'd like to present? for the
No,
board this
that,
evening?
that concludes our presentation unless there are any other questions from the board.
Okay, any other questions from members of the board this evening? So we are not going to be able to render a decision on this evening because there are a few outstanding items that the applicant's going to bring before us for our next meeting. So we are going to continue this to the 16th, is that correct?
Yes. December the 16th.
December the 16th. I want to make sure I have the date correct. And Attorney Nardone, I believe at the beginning of this, I did mention that you had consented to the 16th when I read this into the official record.
Yes,
I want to make sure that that is
yes, we
correct
have, we have.
on the record.
we have,
Okay.
yeah.
I read it into the record.
Because
That doesn't
that's-
mean that
that-
I'm confirming.
It's
it with you.
outside the time for a decision,
Yeah,
so we
that's why I
agreed
wanted to
to
make sure.
extend it.
Okay. All right. Yes, that's what we will need at this time. Madam Planner, is there any other outstanding items other than the items that were identified by the applicant this evening?
If I may ask for some clarifications from board members with regard to the relief that's being requested.
Mhm.
This way I can prepare a motion for approval the next meeting. The housing density, okay with the 8 units at this point?
You poll the board. Does anybody have any issues with the housing density?
None, so we're okay. Okay, I understand that an effort is going to be made to reduce the impervious surface from 44.1 down to 40, if possible. And so we'll leave that subject open for discussion next time. As for the setbacks, we discussed that the 9.1 feet front yard is existing and will remain unchanged. The side setback with the 20-foot requirement that was discussed. The 15 feet would be for the south was okay. On the north, where it says 4.7 feet, I believe they're only requiring 3 feet of difference, so to be 17-foot setback. Is that correct?
Roughly, I think they'll have to verify that on their
All right,
final
verify
plans.
the number. Verify that number, but that was the intent, right?
Yes.
And the 25-foot rear yard setback at 11.4 feet, that's okay. All right. Going at this point, on the aquifer protection permit, one of the adjustments that they'll have to receive is a waiver of the aquifer protection permit. Since it would, in order to go through the process, would require a letter from wetland biologists, which there is nothing on the site to do that, but they will be on sewer and water, so I don't see any concern for that. Phase development we discussed, I have that. And the two new units will be LMI and they will be rentals. One will go into the first duplex and one will go into either of the other 2 duplexes. I think that's it.
Any other issues from members of the board that the planner did not mention? Does the applicant have anything to add to that or anything that the planner mentioned that you have any bone of contention with?
Just that we've indicated that we will provide the letter of eligibility from Rhode Island Housing and the template for the restrictions and the monitoring agent agreement.
Outstanding. So at this time, we just need to entertain a motion to,
Continue to this.
well, wait a minute, do we need to close the public hearing, or should we keep the public hearing open? So continue the public hearing and until the December 16th meeting.
Motion to continue, continue the public hearing until our December 16th meeting.
Second.
Okay, any discussion from members of the board? So we have a motion, it's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Me opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 6-0. Thank you, Attorney Nardone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to your team, and look forward to seeing you guys, right before Christmas. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Okay. All right, our next order of business is item E3, public hearing, comprehensive plan amendments incorporating land use policy for future redevelopment of the Route 1 corridor. This is a review, discussion, and possible action and or continuation of a public board or by the public, by the planning board of a public hearing on amendments to the comprehensive plan incorporating findings from the Route 1 corridor study with discussion of proposed zone changes and zoning ordinance text amendments. Madam Planner, floor is yours.
Thank you. Just gonna get set up here. Thank you.
Back.
Yeah, you just bring it up. That was bad. Alrighty. Yeah. Good evening. This is a continuation of the public hearing on the comprehensive plan amendments and implementing the Route 1 border study. On November 4th, the hearing began and made considerable progress in a number of things. This evening, what I would like to do is return to some of those things that have been determined quickly so that we can move on to the rest of the documents, including the zone change parcels, the comprehensive plan amendments, and the zoning text amendments. So first, I will bring up a couple of slides, only a few slides this week. There we go. Last time we went through the Route 1 corridor, and it was decided by the board to move forward the recommendation that the bed and breakfast overlay district be removed from Route 1 because of its effect on Route 1 and the fact that we can still, being residential and commercial, we still have the opportunity for hotels and other types of accommodations on Route 1. So that has moved on. The one item that was still left up for discussion at the last meeting was the Granite Street Overlay District. This image is the existing Granite Street Overlay District. And after much discussion at the last meeting, it was decided that the only a few lots, the ones here at the top of Granite Street, would be removed from the overlay itself. And then there were some details regarding the Granite Street overlay that we discussed that I'd like to get into in a few minutes. That was not voted on because you didn't see this image. What was voted on is the change in zoning for these 4 parcels from neighborhood business to HDR 6. And you can see in this image also where the Granite Street overlay has been removed, right there where the Route 1 corridor overlay begins. The other thing that was that you approved was changing these lots here between School and Cross Street on Granite Street from highway commercial to P15. And in subquarter 2, these 2 lots from GC to HC. So, if this meets the expectations of the board, I don't know, why is that doing that? Meeting the board expectations with regard to how we left off with the Granite Street overlay district. Mr. Chairman, I just asked that we see if there are any public comments on this, and then quick motion to move this to the town council.
Are there any, we're still open, right? So I don't have to reopen it?
It's open, yeah.
Okay. Are there any comments from anyone relative to this change to the Granite Street overlay and the removal of the parcels, including the high school and the parcels immediately opposite the high school at the top of subcorridor 1?
Okay.
Okay, hearing none from.
Just.
Oh, yeah. Yes, we're just taking one issue at a time so we can move them along. So, all right. Hearing none on this particular issue, members of the board, if I could have a motion, if we're all in agreement with the change that we discussed last week that's reflected on the slide that the planner has in front of us today. I'd entertain a motion from a member of the board to approve this change to the Granite Street overlay, so that we can add this as a recommendation to send forward to town council.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries 6-0 to send this change to the Granite Street overlay forward to the town council.
And Mr. Chairman, Mr. DeHimmel has some questions on these other zone changes. I wasn't going to spend any time on him, but if he would like to be
Yeah,
heard on this.
absolutely.
Thank you. Chris Duhamel, a member of the town council, but here is speaking for myself. I've gone through the Route 1 corridor plan, and I think it's impressive to have it broken down as you have with the 5 sub corridors, each having their own design aspects. So I think that fits well with what is emerging out on this corridor and what can be realized. I followed the overlay zoning restrictions and noted what changes were being made, and in general agreement with what the board has come up with. And I think I can see how much hard work that went into this, how much detail had gone into this. But I had a couple of questions, if I could. As an overall question, promoting the pedestrian access and street landscaping, I know the planning board has discretion in all this. Did I miss it? Is there a section in here where it's promoted more, it's required more to have a streetscape? I like the fact that in a couple of zones you have the buildings at the street frontage, and the parking in the back. So it creates,
It's in the zoning provisions itself, which we will get into detail on this evening, if you can stay with us.
sure,
It was, the zoning provisions were added to the website, and you can retrieve those through the town.
just the overlay zone.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I've gone through this.
Yeah, if you look at that, there's nothing outstanding. We're still going to apply the regular tools that we have for development plan review, site plan review. We're still going to use that process. But there is just some specifics with respect to primarily subcorridor 1 and 2, because it's more dense. And we're trying to affect some change for the people's experience traveling through those areas. So if there are any more specifics, that's where you would find them. But it is all very general, objective language.
Yes, I can see that. It's subjective or general. And if that's how the board feels, I can certainly support it. I just wanted, is there more specifics on getting more pedestrian access, bike access?
Okay, so there's also there's also action items that are being suggested that are in the table going into the comprehensive plan.
So these tables,
Yes, that indicate where, how we're going to with RIDOT and work in more pedestrian and bicycle accessibility. It's going to be, that will also be different based on the subcorridor. In some cases, it might mean just additional access to the corridor from the residential neighborhoods. In other cases, like down on the in the eastern portion of Route 1, it could mean bike lanes eventually. But those are things that are going to come with time.
okay. Just a couple more quick questions, Mr. Chairman. The District 1, Corridor 1 has residential densities, HDR 6 and P15 is,
Yes.
that's what we're going with. And for District 2, it says high density residential, but it doesn't give a expectation what is high density is.
Are you looking at the
Zoning overlay?
Okay, so you kind of have to read these things together, because as you know, like, you'll get part of the story in the comprehensive plan, part in the zoning ordinance. In the subcorridor 1, there are existing single family and a few multifamily residential homes. What's being added is the concept of residential, multifamily residential up to 4 units. So that we want to encourage the town, like townhome style, or
Sure.
or the duplexes and triplexes connected together, because there were some areas where that would be a much better use of the limited amount of spaces there. So that's that one. In subcorridor 2, there is not much of a discussion of infill development. That happens to be the place where we have larger areas of land that could be the subject of comprehensive permit at some point.
The Capianato parcel, for instance, or
Capianato,
redevelopment of Mill Pond Plaza.
yes, yes.
So you would rely on a comprehensive permit in those instances, or?
For Capianato, well, not necessarily, they could be major land developments at this point, but then, of course, if you characterize it as a major land development and you don't say comp permit, then you don't have the flexibility that we have with the comprehensive permit. We tried to build in some flexibility in the overlay, but it's more important that we have like an overall design across the entire overlay district, and kind of let the development come itself.
Can a comprehensive permit have mixed use, commercial and
Yes,
residential?
and it's kind of difficult, I understand, from financing standpoint, but if it's a for-profit developer, it certainly is possible.
Okay,
And that's the other thing that the overlay district is providing. It's providing a lot more flexibility when it comes to mixed-use development that includes residential development. The only section of the corridor where residential development is not being incentivized would be 4 around Dunn's Corners. Because of the limited amount of commercially available area in the community that we currently have, and the lack of sewer and water at that location, it didn't seem to be something we'd want to encourage.
no, I saw that. That seems to fit well with that Dunn's Corner. Last one. The Havisham is within subcorridor 5 where there's no prohibited commercial use. That's quite a successful business.
But we're not affecting that whatsoever.
It's not,
It's still going to be zoned shore commercial general.
Okay.
It's still going to be the current use of the property that it is. The rest of the property in that area is all zoned residential.
okay, very good. Appreciate you allowing me to speak. And again, this is very impressive. It's
Thank you.
hard work.
Okay.
Thank you.
I didn't plan on speaking, but Nancy threw something out there to open up a question.
Sorry, you have to introduce yourself and your,
Dylan LaPetra, 51 Clark Street. You did say that the only corridor that wasn't going to incentivize development or residential development was 4. Is that what you said?
Subquarter 4, yeah.
Okay, so if the sewer district ends at the end of 2, 3, and 3, as I remember, is airport and I
It's on
mean,
residential already.
really in 3?
Water, yeah.
All right, where's the sewer district end?
Sewer district currently ends just before Route 78.
Okay, which is like two going into 3, right? So why are we trying to increase development in 3?
We're not trying to increase development in 3. We're leaving it's residential now. We're gonna leave it as residential.
That's not what you said before. You said the only one that we didn't want to increase development was 4. I thought you said something like that, right? I just said it to Chris a minute ago, residential. So are you saying you want?
Our discussion was about multifamily residential. No multifamily residential is being suggested for number 4. And when it comes to 3 and 5, they are currently medium density residential, and they're gonna stay medium density residential. That's all.
And there won't be incentives to increase the residential? I mean, only because you said something that I didn't.
No,
Okay,
no.
all right, that's different. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so I guess we're done with these rezoning attempts. Any questions on the rezoning stuff? Just few, it's 20, it's, so, okay, great, that's wonderful. I'm trying to find my way around all of this stuff that I got. Okay. There's so much open on here, I can't go find them. That's the problem. Okay, here. Ah, there it is. Okay. So, Yeah, and there's, again, just for the record, it was agreed that there would be no zone changes in sub-quarter 3, 4, or 5. It's just those few in 1 and 2.
Mhm.
Okay, so I just want to confirm with you that,
Nancy?
yeah,
So if we have, and I want to say sub-quarter 2 is where
yes,
J.C. Penney is, right? That's in sub-quarter 2. Okay. In that area, those commercial lots, we are now going to afford them a higher degree of flexibility for mixed use. In other words, we're going to allow, add residential into the mix
yes,
on those lots as appropriate.
if they want to, yep.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Okay, and this is the final list of the zoning parcels that, and this list is intended to be table 4.5.1 to go into the comprehensive plan. This was a suggestion that was made, from, statewide planning in their communication, and in my follow-up telephone call with them to make sure that it's in the comp plan, so that the town council can take action on it right away, which is the intent.
And this is consistent with the changes that we made, right? There's no
Yes,
difference from
it
what they
is.
asked to what is here.
So the only thing you're doing at those parcels on Granite Street is removing the overlay, leaving them and leaving all the other ones alone. And then we have the 4 that are being changed to A share 6 and the others to P15 and then the 2 to HC. And that's it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I think there's no more questions on that. We'll go look at some text changes next. How's that?
Oh, wait a minute.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
What, first, Paul? You've got.
Paul Azanaro, 62 Elm Street, Westerly, also ARB Chair. I don't know if this is going to come up later on, but this seems to be all cut and dry the way I'm hearing it. And I don't need to be a pest on this. But right now, if I have clients that want to do multifamily, right now, anything 4 or more requires a zone change. That means I got to go to zoning, planning, get the approval, then go to town council. We were hoping that we could come to the planning board one time with some of these larger developments. I personally have clients ready to go. They're gonna ask me, well, how you doing with the planning board? And I said, well, it's got to go to the town council and get approval. And then some of the mechanisms that we've asked is time delay, or it's too much at this point in time. I'm sorry, I'm all worked up. It just, I don't see a solution. Anybody that tries to promote development, affordable housing, an easy way when we're limiting, we're trying to avoid zone changes.
Right.
And right now I can't do multifamily. I don't want to do mixed use with multifamily. I want to take some of those larger properties and convert them because all those businesses have failed. And how do we expect to do mixed use when you have elderly and handicap? We can't put elevators in every, as, you know, anything 2 stories or less under certain square footages, we don't need elevators. But we can certainly use half of those units at grade. That's some of my big concern. We cannot afford to bring our clients through the process and then go to town council that alone is a 4 or 5 month process, if we're lucky. And that's all. We're trying to make things simple. I don't see it.
I guess I'm confused, Paul. You're asking about bringing in large development into lots along the corridor for multiple, large residential development, correct? So that can happen right now under a comprehensive permit.
Yeah, but zone doesn't allow
It doesn't.
And under a comprehensive permit, it would.
The zone doesn't have to allow a comprehensive permit. Comprehensive permit can be brought anywhere.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, anywhere. Doesn't matter what the zone is. No, it doesn't need a zone change under a comprehensive permit. It can happen anywhere anywhere in town it can happen without a zone change.
And I would also will remind you that right on the heels of this, if the town council is up for it, there's going to be a significant number of zoning amendments. One of which is going to deal with multifamily land development and one that's going to be dealing with mixed use development. So that's coming too. But yes, at this moment in time and with any of these changes, if someone wanted to build multifamily development or multifamily development mixed use on one of those parcels, they could apply using the comprehensive permit process. It's the discussion we'll have, it's going to be a little convoluted because of all the different concerns, but we will get there. We can get
I
there.
know the Capuato property that you just mentioned a minute ago, that's highway commercial.
Yes,
That could
exactly.
be redeveloped right now as multifamily residential if somebody wanted to bring that before the board.
To advance that, the definition I read to you of adjustment included use.
Yes.
Yep.
But it can,
Mhm.
but it can only be done under that comp.
Under the comp permit, correct.
Right
Only
now.
under the comprehensive permit, okay.
Yep.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I think we're approaching where we have more highway commercial real estate than we need. We have more opportunities for bricks and mortar than what we need in our town. And I think I'm just trying to confirm here, Paul, that is in fact what you're saying. So you're saying that some of these sites that are underperforming properties would be able to be raised and turned into residential. And right now, are you saying that within the changes we're making, that's not self-evident enough?
Be on this way. Started the process here for 4 years with property called the house in Franklin.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
No.
Paul, could you come up to the mic just so that we get it on record? And I apologize, just so we make sure that. Wait. Okay.
So what Paul was saying is his impression was that the portion of the lot that's at the corner of Wells and Franklin Street would need to be there would need to be a zone change if they were going to do multifamily there. And no, that's not necessary. It can be done with a comprehensive permit, which gives you all the flexibility you need with respect to setbacks and all the things that you were just discussing this evening.
Right.
But in effect, aren't we saying that we're forcing everybody down the comprehensive permit route? In other words, if we had something that's highway commercial, right? Well, potentially. Well, let me just work the idea here. So if we had somebody who had a small piece of highway commercial property and they just wanted to make it residential, and they're gonna fall under the requirements for a comprehensive permit under the Westerly rules, less than 5 units, okay? They can't do that today without a zoning change. Because they're not under a comp permit. They are going in and they're putting 4 units in, which means under our ordinance, they'd be exempt from forced down a comprehensive permit, okay? But they've got a small piece of highway commercial property and they want to put 4 units on. That's all they want to do. But under the underlying zoning, they would not be able to do that. Without a way. And if they have a comp permit, then they've got to go 5 units or more and you've got more density, et cetera. It all depends on the lot. I guess, so it's,
Again, we're
we're
not-
forcing them, we're forcing our community down this route of higher density, comp permits, overriding zoning. That's what I think has really come out of this discussion. And correct me anywhere I'm wrong in that, Mr. Solicitor, if you think I am.
Well, I think the only thing, if I could, is you're assuming that every comprehensive permit is going to override the density. I would venture to guess that the vast majority of them will.
Every
But not
comp permit
everyone.
we have ever seen.
No, I said,
Exceeds.
I
Yeah.
said that. I said,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
assuming it will. I said, I venture to
would.
guess it probably
Assuming it
would,
will, it will.
but that's not always going to be the case in every single one of them that comes before us when they're talking about a small highway commercial. They may not be able to.
But they wouldn't be here on a comp, if it's too small of commercial and they don't have 5 units, right?
Mhm.
We're not gonna let them, they're under the law, they can't come in here under a comp permit. They can only come in here a comp permit, right? Am I correct? Am I wrong?
No,
If I'm wrong, that's great, because if I want to put 2 units in, can I come in under a comp permit on a piece of property?
I don't think you'd have to, because it's allowed now.
It's allowed allowed under the rule.
Well, maybe, under
So-
highway commercial, it wouldn't be.
It would be within the overlay.
Depends on how you read this new state legislation.
But would, go ahead. Well, am I all wet here or
No,
are we thinking it
That,
through?
that is
too much?
correct. So if a zone change is not required and you have the authority to advance on a project, more than likely you will exceed the densities.
More than likely.
It's multifamily. You're not going to come in 4 or less units. That's kind of permitted in the P15 with the mixed, there was little language recently without having mixed use, but more than likely you're talking larger affordable housing developments that will have to ask for relief on the density. And if you can do it in one shot with zoning, I stand to be corrected.
I think for what you're talking about for your clients, larger developments, you're going to want to be under a comprehensive permit, more likely than not.
I think we won't
Streamlines
have a
every-
choice because of the density.
Yeah, but it streamlines everything for you because it's a one-stop
Yeah,
shop. You
yeah.
come here, it's one stop, you're in and out of here in
Yeah.
whatever it is. What's that timeline we have now? 60 days?
Normal process.
Yeah, it's a normal.
Through you without going boom to boom to
Right.
boom.
So I think from your standpoint, for your client's standpoint, that's the fastest, quickest
Yeah.
route to approval.
Yeah,
Right.
I
So-
was mistaken about the zone because we did have to go back on another use for that particular property, but
Before you leave,
stand to be
before-
corrected.
before you leave, well, if we close our eyes, we are talking about like the Merchant Square projects, you know, the area behind Merchant Square with those large.
Yeah.
apartment. We're thinking in terms of those.
Yeah,
Along the-
or something more vernacular, something more spread out, and not being necessarily convoluted with retail traffic within that confines.
Okay. Good, thank you.
Something nice.
Quarry apartments.
One more comment, 51 Clark Street, dealing with Petra. At least the comp permit forces them to do 25% LMI, correct? So while we just want to give away golden lottery tickets now, don't we? Is that what Mr. Paul Azanel is looking for here, where they could come and say, we want to make these developments all for profit? We don't even have to throw in the token LMI anymore. We're gonna be redeveloping this whole corridor pretty soon. I mean, they're gonna get rid of every commercial building and it's all gonna be housing because why wouldn't you want to cash in? So I don't like where it's headed as far as that goes. I'm not in the business of giving out winning lottery tickets all the time. I think I've used that line before. We haven't even given the economy a chance yet. Before we throw in the towel on all these commercial buildings, we had a discussion last night at the town council meeting about, you know, attracting new type of industry, but it looks like any place that it could possibly go is going to be turned into residential housing pretty soon.
If I can, Mr. Chairman, just a couple of points. First, I'm aware of one project that my office was involved in that dealt with an existing building that had 4 units in it, 2 of which were considered illegal. They used the comprehensive permit process to legitimize those 2 units that were in the basement. And they were successful in doing that. So to say it's got to be 5 units, I mean, not always. There are scenarios where that actually is not true. The other side of it is true also, where you have a graded schedule under the new law, which, you know, we're assuming 25% affordable, and that gives you 5 units per acre when you're attached to sewer and water, right? If you're connected to sewer and water and you want to do 50% low and moderate income, then you get more units per acre and so on and so forth. 100%, that's 12 units per acre. So the density can increase exponentially. That's what makes these comprehensive permits attractive.
Yeah, can I ask a question?
Yes.
So, just so we're clear, once we hit the 10% under state law, comp permits are not, they're not like, people can't come in with a comp permit of, our underlying zoning takes precedent then.
Yeah, so the law is written so that if you hit the 10%, you no longer need to consider comprehensive permits. And there are actually cities and towns that have achieved that status where they're actually listed as no longer being susceptible to those kinds of things. Providence is one of them, for example. You can't even bring a comprehensive permit there. They don't have it on the local ordinance at all. It doesn't exist.
Okay, so, and a final question is, we've dealt with this issue about sewage before, where we have limited capacity. And what will happen is, just like establishing, hooking up for water, it has to be present, and there has to be capacity for someone. So a project could get approved, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna get built if it cannot connect to the sewer system.
Not necessarily that cut and dry. So the
Okay.
question is, can they then handle their sewage on site with an OWTS? And then the density is impacted under the law because there's a provision that says for properties not connected to either public water or sewer, then a different density
Correct,
applies
the
now.
densities are lessened, okay.
Yep.
Right, so it's possible that there, at some point in the future, we may have a project. It's quote unquote, if we had the capacity, would be in the sewer system. It is not. We can't attach it because we do not have the capacity. And
You could
which is
take for an
what-
example, you could take for an example, the Dakota property that's going in.
Correct.
Say, for example, it's 75 units
72.
or 72 units, sorry. So 72 units, that's going in and it's attached to the sewer. If for some reason then there was not sewer capacity for that based on the density, I know, I'm making a complete hypothetical for the point.
Right.
The density of that would go down. They would have to come back to get it or not approval, but they would have to come back with new plans that would reduce that density to get it down to what they could actually handle with on-site sewage treatment. And then get that on-site sewage treatment approved by RIDEM before they could go forward to get their final construction.
So even though we are in quote unquote.
That's not happening. I'm just.
Quote unquote, the
hypothetical.
sewer district, when we hit that wall, and that what we're trying to deal with the long trust. So when we hit that wall, that nope, nothing else, the sewer department says, we can't let you hook up anything else. We're still approving things, but now the rules have changed because we're talking about there's not sewers available. There may be water, but there's not sewers available, and now it's all on-site wastewater treatment. Got it. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah, Madam Planner.
can we move
Oh,
on?
sorry, one question, James, go ahead.
Just a quick point, just a quick note to Dylan's point. I don't necessarily look at it as giving out a, golden ticket or a lottery ticket. I think more what we're doing from a 30,000 foot view here is allowing greater flexibility to allow the market to dictate what, the government necessarily dictating what's, what's viable and what's not, I think is a little bit of a slippery slope. We're allowing greater flexibility so that the market can dictate and determine what's going to be best there. And that's kind of my thinking on it.
Can I move on?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the text amendments
For the plan or for the zoning code?
for the zoning code.
Okay,
Okay, so,
everyone stay awake. Zoning code amendments.
okay, the text amendments for the zoning code, based on the discussion last time we met, rather than eliminate the Granite Street overlay district, which we discussed, we're now just adding in the Route 1 corridor overlay district into the list under 26015. The bed and breakfast overlay district, as we previously discussed, is getting amended simply by removing Route 1 in its entirety out of the list of over thousands of parcels that were within the bed and breakfast overlay district, leaving about 564 of those parcels still in the Route 1 in the bed and breakfast overlay district. Okay. Then now we're going to amend. The discussion led us to an amendment of the Granite Street overlay district. First thing, the Granite Street overlay district is now going to end at 130 feet southeast of Vose Street and include across the street 73 and 80 Granite Street. That identifies that line that we saw on paper.
Line 57.
Yes, that's it. I'm on line, yes, I updated it. I'm on line 60.
Go to the amendment. Go back to
So I will,
the agenda. I see agenda.
I have just one.
Click on the. Now,
I have
click on
just one.
Hearing.
Could you, give back to me?
Go
Give me? Thank you.
Yeah, scroll
Oh,
down.
it's this way, so you can read
Go to
it.
the second.
And I'm sorry, I'll go by line number. You know, that's helpful. Okay.
That one, the amended version.
Okay, I'm going by,
Then line.
so
seven.
that was line 60. Do you remember there was a change?
Yep.
Okay, so that describes the change we just went through with the map. The other thing that was discussed at the time was the purpose of providing incentivizing multifamily residential that's already being developed in the Granite Street overlay district. And so I've indicated multifamily residential at on line 63. And with the other clarifications, I have added multifamily residential up to 4 units on line 73. Okay, and that was sort of where we ended up the conversation. We said at the end, don't remove the entire district, but add in the multifamily residential up to 4 units.
And that is what the 4 units is what the Roger Williams house is, correct? That's what we established last time.
Roger Williams is not 4 units. It's more like co-housing.
Okay.
Okay. So that's that. And the other changes to that were for clarification purposes, which I hadn't previously made because the comprehensive plan said, let's consider taking this out entirely. So these are changes that I think are needed for clarification. This section had been amended like 3 times and it didn't really read well. So I'm hoping that you'll feel that it reads much better now. If there is any comments on this, please feel free to share those with me. So now we have a whole new section for the Route 1 corridor overlay. So it's line 81. It's now called section 26055.1 because it didn't fit anywhere else. was a few changes that I made to this, based on our prior conversation. If you go to line 106, once again, subcorridor 1 now starts at that location 133 feet southeast of Vaux Street, as opposed to at Vaux Street. Okay. I highlighted it so I'd remember to mention it. On line 123 and 124, this was a clarification that was made regarding how the subcorridor permitted uses is overlaid onto the underlying zoning. I think that was Mr. Azanero's concern at the time. And let's see, the design guidelines, we referred to that earlier with Mr. Duhamel. Nothing's changed there. The site design in general, building design in general, subquarter 1, I think it was so. Yes, if you go to line 205, if you recall, we had a lot of, we had discussion about limiting each unit in the multifamily development to 1 parking space only. We took that out. By the end of the evening, you had left already, that the board said take it out, so we did. Then I added in addition on line 233, just for clarification. And then the final thing is subquarter 5, which is all the way down somewhere 330, 338, 339. I took out the reference to Havisham, as you suggested. So those are the only changes that were made since this was advertised for the public hearing initially. I can take questions, Mr. Chairman, but the intent is that we will have that voted on this evening. So.
All right, are there any questions from members of the board based on the revisions that we have before us tonight?
Any other revisions?
Or any other revisions or changes? Morris, starting down there with you. Perry? Sarah?
No.
James? John? Oh, come down, go ahead.
So if we go to line 124, we make, or 123, we make reference to the zoning district use tables. In our last meeting, we talked about these tables with regard to, having the Route 1 corridor. So it's saying in here, exactly, it says, permitted prohibited use within the Route 1 corridor shall be consistent with the uses permitted in underlying zoning districts as identified in the zoning use tables. Now, there are other overlay districts that are in the zoning use tables currently.
Just the aquifer,
Okay.
just the aquifer.
There
And
is,
because those are special, those are
Nothing for
individual.
shoreline?
permits.
there's not Shoreline Historic Watch Hill? Can you pull
No,
the table, can you pull that table up?
well, that's not an overlay district though. That's Shore Commercial Watch Hill. That's an underlying zoning
Okay.
district.
But there was discussions here because these overlays that we are doing I offer more flexibility than the zoning use tables do. And whether we should establish, and Paul had brought up, and then Paul and I had subsequent discussion and on this, that if we're going through this and if people rely upon this information, shouldn't we incorporate either at this time or very quickly on the heels of it, an upgrade to that zoning use table? To have a second page to say, here are all your overlays, and this is how they impact.
Right, and I think we agreed to do that separate from this effort. I think what we agreed to do here was to add in the line that clarified that it's what's in
Going to-
what's allowed for the underlying zoning and is specifically allowed under each subcorridor for this, so that it's specific to this overlay. Because that's what we're in this right now. We're in what this overlay allows
Yeah.
is what this
But the,
ordinance is for.
but
But you're talking about a larger issue beyond this ordinance.
it's not, I don't know if it's that large a issue, once we get into it, but here's the challenge. Those zoning use tables are used. People come at this various ways. There's a lot of visibility and there's a lot of concern about the Route 1 corridor and what we're doing here.
Mhm.
A lot of it positive, a lot of it positive, they give flexibility. So I'm just going on discussions that I've had with Mr. Azzararo and that encourage him to come up and add to this, that we tackle that sooner rather than later. And if at all possible, yeah, we should tackle it sooner rather than later. We set a date and just as we did for this, to get that accomplished.
I agree with you. I think we're fine doing that. When we get to the point in the meeting tonight, we talk about the next board. We'll put that on the agenda to tackle that, so we can add that as an agenda for the staff to put together, because I think it's easy enough for the staff, because I think we talked about the staff compiling
Just
the overlays.
Yeah, just
and-
an addendum.
an
We could-
addendum to
an
the
addendum
table.
to the zoning table. Yeah.
So that there's a second table to it that would be available for developers. So when they see the zoning table, then there's an addendum to the zoning table that just has, here's the overlays. So that there's a note on the zoning table that says, refer to the zoning, the overlay table, and then the overlay table has
So
the.
I understand. I understand. Right now, the ordinance isn't set up that way.
Yeah, exactly. The
Yeah.
ordinance is set up so that it's referencing what's in the ordinance.
Yeah, and it's done in text format
Right.
as opposed to in
Tabular.
some kind of a table. Yes.
So I'm with you. I think we'll tackle that. And we'll have
Yeah.
the staff put together.
My understanding was that we were gonna swing back to that at some
Yep.
point.
Okay.
But we do have, the use table needs to be completely retrofitted. It's just not working for you. So we'll get into that. That could be a whole evening conversation just on the use table. Okay? So, Mr. Chairman, if there's no
Any
other
other comments? But very good point, though, to bring that up.
changes?
No other changes. Are there any comments from any members of the public on this particular code, the changes to the code, or any of the revisions that were made this evening based on the changes from November 4th to tonight, or any of the other posted changes to the ordinance? Okay, hearing none at this time. If there are no other comments, from members of the board, I entertain a motion to refer the ordinance as it's been amended to the town council for their review and approval.
So moved.
Turn your mic on.
What's that?
Sorry. Are we going with a draft motion here? Or?
We can use the draft motion. You can give your own. We're just doing a motion to send it forward to the town council for their review.
You want to? Yeah.
Yeah, you can use that one if you'd like, but he already made a motion, so.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor to?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carried 6-0 to forward this as amended to the town council for their review.
Okay, so you just pointed out, I did provide you with a short memo with 3 draft motions. Typically, the reference of the comprehensive plan goes first, and then the zone changes, and then the zoning text amendment. So we'll get to that, kind of wrap things up at the end of the discussion. But first, I want to introduce you. I passed out this evening. Sorry?
Oh, yeah. Actually, Madam Planner, could we take a 5-minute break just to allow everyone to use the facilities real quick?
Sure.
All right, so the time is now 8:38. We'll take a 5-minute break and we will return here at 8:43.
Yeah, they. You pretty high, okay? Of, yeah, Because we're gonna have to,
Just
we're
about-
gonna have to, notice them individually. Each and every one of them before the town council's public hearing. So they're gonna have to get notice to receive every single property owner
Okay.
within those two issues.
Time is now 8:43. We're reopening the meeting.
It's illegal to,
You guys just on a break, sorry.
Yeah, it's illegal.
Not any longer.
Sorry.
Back to work. Madam Planner, go ahead and continue. I'm sorry.
So, yeah,
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I want to introduce you, I passed out earlier, two things. The first one is a copy of a letter dated, November 17th, from the Division of Statewide Planning. In which there are two sections to that letter. The first section is at the bottom of page 1. It says state approval concerns, which they have none. That's what that says. No approvability concerns. So in other words, in terms of the text amendments to the comprehensive plan that were submitted to them, there's nothing there that would prohibit them from approving them. But what the state is now doing is they are providing comments and suggestions in as sort of a capacity building exercise and to offer some assistance to communities when they're doing their comprehensive plans. So the next few pages are examples of that. And as a result, having received this just yesterday and previously a kind of an unedited version of what the questions were going to be. I have made a few changes to the document since you've seen it last, okay? So what I'd like to do is I'd like to step you through those quickly. This shouldn't take too long. But I think these were helpful clarifications, some additions. A lot of the stuff I have written a response to this basically says this is not within the scope of this particular review and revision. So I'm not going to go into all of that stuff with you, if that's okay.
It's fine.
Okay. So the
And
first,
just to be clear, the changes that they're saying here, they're saying that at the very beginning of this, they're saying they have no approvability concerns with what our changes were.
right,
The rest of these are suggestions. They're not
Suggestions.
saying you have to make any of these changes. They're making suggestions that they feel would improve our plan, not necessarily things we have to do, things they
yeah,
are recommending that we would change.
yes, that is
Okay.
correct. That
Let's
is,
make sure that's clear to the board.
so
Are we making them?
We're gonna go through them.
Okay.
If there are any, then.
just a few things that seemed like, all right, that's a good idea. For example, on page 1, I have it up here at the bottom, the very last line says range of occurring affordable housing options. I added the word naturally. Range of naturally occurring affordable housing options. So in other words, we're not forcing additional affordable housing options, but we're saying, yeah, there's things that we see that will naturally would be evolving and we're making room for them. A lot of these have to do with housing. The next one I'd like to point out,
Madam Planner,
yes,
I'm looking at my notes from the first go around that we had looking at this. And didn't we have a conversation about dropping the word safe out of it? In other words,
safe.
the corridor will be vibrant, distinctive, inviting, and reflective of the town's character. Why would we say that we were going to promote a safe place? I mean, don't we have a safe community already?
Well, I think that was the safe was referring to modes of travel and walkability and that type of thing. But if you don't like the word safe, we can take it out.
I just don't see how we would develop something otherwise.
We're not in
There.
the memo anymore. No, we're not in the memo. We're in the amendments.
Bottom of page 1,
Yeah,
last
bottom
bullet,
of
first
page one.
line.
We're getting him in the right spot. I guess.
I mean, a lot of other places, a lot of things don't exist, so yeah, but
Yeah,
I'd like to think that we're starting with a safe community as a benchmark and then adding in all these other things. I don't think there's any part on the Route 1 corridor that we gotta say, it's a horror show, we gotta make it safe.
I mean, if I have to throw in my 2 cents and guess why somebody puts safe in there, it's because these types of regulations, these types of things are drafted for the health, safety and welfare. That's usually generally the enabling legislation.
So it's a buzzword, do we have to hang on to a document so that people will say, ooh, this is.
That's my guess. Yeah.
It's a lot of Madison Avenue hot air than me. And
Lawyer speak sometimes prevails.
that's my profession.
But doesn't that relate to police powers?
Yeah.
So it's where we get the basis of the authority from.
there you go. So leave safe in.
Okay, leave it safe in.
As he said, it gives us our authority.
The next change is on page 3. It's the first bullet. You see, I crossed out the sentence that was there and I changed it to foster a better understanding of the transportation related aspects of development to ensure more affordable, healthy, sustainable, resilient, and equitable results. This was again a suggestion that I thought reached the point a lot better than the previous sentence did. So with your permission, I'd like to leave it that way.
This is from the recommendation from the,
EOH from housing.
page 3.
Yes, they made the recommendation. Hold on. It was in the prior email that they sent me. It says, on page 3, the plan discusses requiring multimodal transportation analyses for development projects. Existing language, not new red lines. That was existing language. We recommend that this be clarified to only apply to projects of a certain size or threshold. And I wrote, this was not a proposed amendment, but a recommendation from EOH. My response was for clarification and more on point. I replaced it with the new sentence. Wasn't quite, yeah. I guess more on point with what we're trying to do in the commercial corridors with the understanding the different transportation related aspects. And I guess they wanted to emphasize that, the transportation does affect affordability, it affects health, it affects basically the overall results that you get from commercial development. So that was what the suggestion was. Your call.
I'm having a hard time relating transportation to affordable and equitable.
Well, you want to have the transportation. Can people who live here get to the goods and services that they need? What about if they've got to walk? Is it safe to cross the street? Those types of things.
But walking isn't.
Yeah.
I guess, but.
Well, what it's talking about is, we're going back to, let me back up a step. You're talking about if you're changing some of those shopping centers. So say in the future, in that area that's in front of JCPenney, that's a vacant thing, that becomes or the Capiano property we were just talking about, those become a housing development.
Mhm.
Can people in those housing developments safely get from that housing development, or even the Dakota one that's going in? Can they safely get from that property to Aldi's to go
Yes.
shopping? Can they safely get from there? Is
But-
there sidewalk transportation? Is
Bicycle.
there, able to bike? Is there transportation? Is there crosswalks? Is there lights? All that stuff.
Yeah.
That's kind of what they're getting to, is that there are transportation related aspects of the development that ensure that affordable, healthy, sustainable, resilient, equitable results, meaning that anybody, regardless of their, their income bracket or whatever, can get from point A to point B without a car.
Yeah.
Isn't,
walk.
isn't
But a
that what the
sidewalk-
previous
I don't
entry
think that's
said?
what
I've never
That's
seen it
exactly
on a.
it.
It's like whether you had a,
Whether
whether you had a skateboard or a Sierra, you should be
Yeah.
able to get there, right?
And you went full on consulting mode there. So I don't know any way that a sidewalk could be either affordable or unaffordable. It's a
No, I'm not. You
sidewalk. It's
you
safe.
asked me to describe what it
I
meant.
know.
I told you what it meant.
And you went full on to consulting and I know why. I would have done the same thing if I tried to explain this, but I'm just saying, we gotta vote on this. And sometimes these things.
We have to
get-
take regulatory
just
requirements.
gets
We don't
doggone-
have to take
It
suggestions.
just gets doggone
It was
silly,
good.
you know? It's like, it's a sidewalk. So what we are trying to do is we're trying to ensure that we have a healthy, sustainable and resilient result.
Mhm.
There's no inequitable walking down a sidewalk, like everybody
All
can
right,
walk.
can I
down.
make a suggestion then? Can I make a suggestion?
Sure,
Because I
yeah,
think we had this before.
We did.
So let me say this. All right. Foster, so the beginning of it where it says foster better understanding of the transportation related aspects of the development. That's the area that they're talking about. If you're building a development, understand the transportation related aspects of it.
Mhm.
That's part one. To ensure, right? And then the part that we're talking about, this more affordable, healthy, sustainable, is what we had in that other thing. That, that it
Yes.
requires, multimodal transportation and analysis for development. Or you could just say requiring multimodal transportation analysis, including pedestrian, bike, transportation, water access, shared motor vehicle, and private. You could combine those two sentences. The first has to be your first one and what we had in the second one, and you get everybody happy. You get the states happy and they get their buzz language at the beginning, and you get the actual meat of what they're trying to say in the affordable, healthy, sustainable, resilient, and equitable with actually what it really means.
Hang your
in the
hat
second
on
half.
trying to say, I make a motion, just put it back.
You could do that too.
And I want to applaud the planner on, I know who I have a sneaking suspicion who you're dealing with. You're dealing with bureaucrats. They see certain buzzwords. They're happy words but they're nonsensical.
Yeah, but they're like rocking chairs. They don't take you
So-
anywhere.
So let's go back to multimodal transportation, right? Yeah, I agree. Is that a motion? Did he?
No, he did not make a motion.
He didn't, he did not make a motion? Okay.
Did.
Did you say I make a motion?
Yes.
I said, I make a motion that you just put it back.
Then I second his put it back motion.
Do we have any other discussion on it? Okay, so we have a motion to put it back to the way it was. Is there any discussion on that from anyone, other members of the board? Any strong feelings one way or the other? Yes, no, okay. All those in favor of returning the language back to the way it was?
Aye.
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 Okay, I guess 6-0, we put it back to the way it was.
Okay. Moving on, stormwater. Isn't that funny? So RIDOT submitted some suggested changes, and that's on the form that I gave you.
Mhm.
And that's on page 7, where we previously discussed stormwater, and there was a little bit more discussion that we had added to it. I have to find that. So in paragraph 1 here, I added the word preservation, if I can find it. Stormwater. As a priority list of considerations. Oh, no, it's in this first sentence in the second paragraph, I think. All right, I can't even find it now. Anybody see the word preservation? Yeah. What happened to it? All right, well, it's there somewhere. Okay, well, yeah. It says list of priorities. All right, paragraph 2, I just simplified some of the language that was in there. To say involved projects for stormwater quality improvements. It was semantics, really. And then they made one,
Oh,
correction.
I think what they were saying is, paragraph 1, it says it says the town of Westerly contains an aged stormwater network that requires routine maintenance, repairs, and improvements. I think they were trying to say add preservation to that. Preservation is kind of redundant with routine.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
think leaving
So
it
I
out is
brought
fine.
it anyway, so, okay.
Yeah, it's redundant. Routine maintenance and preservation is the same thing.
Okay,
So
probably one of their buzzwords. I learn a lot when I get information from them because it's not something that I get all the time. Okay, so yeah, Matt, if you could be of some help on paragraph 2, they asked me to redevelopment is an already defined term for stormwater, suggesting allow coordination with RIDOT, involve projects for stormwater quality improvements. Involve projects. Okay. Oh, here it is. It says will allow coordination with RIDOT involved redevelopment. Is what I put in.
yes, and we added the word pre-treatment of stormwater prior to conveyance there. Which I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
is-
that's what it,
Yes, which
Yeah.
is key.
yeah, okay,
So they don't dump untreated stormwater into our system.
okay, yeah.
Yes,
I think I had my terminology. I'll
correct. No,
correct it.
that is correct.
And then I went paragraph 3, based on TMDL criteria for impaired water bodies was what they wanted me to change it to. Probably in the middle of the sentence. Redevelop. I don't even see it. My goodness. What you're talking about.
Okay, so,
This is where.
yeah, the reference here to TMDL
Yeah.
is a reference to the only thing that has a TMDL is the Pawcatuck River that I'm aware of, the upper Pawcatuck,
Well,
lower Pawcatuck. Have it,
I-
and it stands for total maximum daily load criteria.
Yeah,
Correct.
there
That's-
actually is one for Champlain Pond as Champman or
The
Champ.
Champlain, well,
Champlain Pond.
it's the White Cedar Pond, we call it swamp because we can't
Yeah.
say the actual
So,
name.
so anyway, there was
I can't.
a couple of things here.
Yeah, that one. But, yes, that's an, I don't know if it's an impaired water body, but it does feed and connects to the Pawcatuck River.
They were taking some position. I guess they figured they need to be productive, so. So I'm not too worried about what happened to those. But this is the only thing that I would do if they had something
Right.
really important. Page 9,
Well-
is the next one, yep. The bottom of the first paragraph, I added a sentence based on their recommendation. I added using this method will provide the appropriate mix of residential and commercial development of vacant and underutilized properties throughout the corridor. Which is true.
Where is that on the bottom of page 9?
Okay, you're on page 9, the
Yep.
large red paragraph.
Yep.
The last sentence is what I added.
Using this method, okay.
A lot of enough. Yeah, you could say that too.
Grammar hawk.
Um,
You know.
Yeah.
What do you think? I can make that change. That's not a problem.
Yeah, no, go ahead and make that change, yeah.
I think
He's
it,
right, it's.
I think if we go to, this method will provide the appropriate development of residential and commercial vacant and underutilized properties.
Okay, this method will provide. Got it. Okay. I just have to find it.
Can we go back to seven?
Okay.
That's one more.
Yeah.
We're not.
I'm gonna go all the way down to page 19.
Oh,
Sure. But that one we should make a reference to.
to the TMDL.
Just to show you that that's where I think I might have reformatted this a little bit because I didn't like the way the
Hold that thought.
was blank. Oh, sorry about that. Okay. Page 19, there, that is where I added that list of parcels. Okay, and gave it a title and a table number. Okay, and a section number.
Say that again?
Page 19 of the new draft, that's this one where I added the
Oh,
list of parcels that we just discussed.
Yep.
Okay. And then the last thing is to look at the table.
if we could, just one quick question.
Sure.
John, a question, back on the stormwater real quick on the.
Yeah. You can
TMDL.
make heads or
So-
tails out of that. Please help me.
What's that?
If there's any way we can clarify that, just let me know.
That's where we're just gonna go back to.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
and I would, actually, I think we need to dust off the TMDL and see if there's anything specific in there, but that they're making, we might make reference to, but the whole purpose of this whole area, especially the Granite Street and not Tower Street, the Granite Street area, also Franklin, beginning of Franklin Street, anything that's getting down into the Pawcatuck River. The Pawcatuck River is impaired.
Yeah.
It is also a scenic and wild river
Yeah.
in the Northeast. So both of those things are outlined, are factors here. So I think that anything we do with stormwater should be related to water improvement, based on a TMDL criteria for the Pawcatuck River and its associated water bodies. Because the associated water bodies is also that White Cedar Swamp.
Can I make a suggestion to make
Sure.
this more generic, more flexible and appropriate to everywhere in town?
Yes, because it needs to be.
So right now it says, so their specific comment was, don't make it isolated to bacterial loadings. And the way
Yes.
that the sentence says right now is the incorporation of green infrastructure, best management practices
There
for
it
the
is.
purposes of reducing bacterial loadings from stormwater discharges to surface water to comply with state regulatory criteria.
Yes, that's the one.
Instead, just change it to, for the purposes of reducing loadings or contaminant loadings from stormwater discharges.
So
Because
take
contam-
bacterial
So
out.
take bacterial out and put contaminant loadings. Contaminants include bacterial.
Okay.
It includes everything that's petroleum, that includes
Particulate.
yeah, it's
Good idea.
particulate, it includes chemical, it includes everything. So it's a one-word catch-all for everything. Exactly. Oh, yeah, that's right. No pun intended for catch-alls. I didn't even intend that one.
And
Okay,
it
so
basically,
contaminants, not.
basically, I think we just need to say in here with a goal to improve
Yep,
Water quality.
water quality and
For the-
for this,
for the pocket duct.
but we don't even say pocket, because now if you just say for all surface water bodies, it goes to the Pawcatuck River, it goes to the,
Pretty much
any surface water body.
any surface water body virtually in the town goes virtually to the pocket duct.
Right,
Except for-
but if we
except
just
for
say,
some down
but if we
there.
just say discharges surface water to
Yeah.
comply with state criteria, it covers us for every water body that.
Where's everything?
If they're calling out the TMDL, they're talking about the Pawcatuck River.
I know, but either way,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. No matter where it goes, we're covered, no matter where it goes to what water body.
Thank you, because I don't speak their language. So I will change bacterial to contaminants. Got it.
Contaminant loadings.
And I actually see it in two places. There's one up here that says bacterial as well. See that?
Sources of, yeah, you can just say sources of contamination.
Yep. Okay, thank you. All right, now can I go to 19?
Yep.
Yeah, that's just to show, oh, I know what else I needed to tell you. As a result of our past discussion on the P15, on page 10, I added in P15 to the list of commercial zoning districts, the definitions, and just because I added multifamily residential into that definition. So I added that. 10 and then 19.
Oh, I gotcha.
See it?
Yep.
Yeah. That wasn't there before. We'll make sure everybody understands that. Okay, and 19, that's a stage. Okay. Is everyone okay with this now? I can move on to the list.
Does anyone have any questions based on the changes that we made tonight? And the revisions that we just made?
Okay, very good. All right, last thing on the list. Okay. So a lot of the suggestions that were made by state planning actually had to do with this document. And I'm not going to go through and make any changes because what we've done here is consistent with what's in the comprehensive plan already. And if we get to do an update, I will revisit their suggestions on how to do this better. But the only changes that were made since this was advertised initially is on the last page where housing asked for a bit of clarification with respect to residential development. The red lines in this section right here were the result of their recommendations. So a little more emphasis here on flexibility and housing opportunities, and a little less emphasis on design. The last one that I removed, I thought was pretty much repetitive of the item just before it. So I didn't see any reason to worry about it. And those are all the changes I have. Mhm.
What?
The removal of that.
I don't know about,
And encourage additional residential development. I mean,
Yeah, that
don't
was
we
my-
have that as a running theme all
we
the
could
way
just,
through the
we
whole
could leave
thing?
out residential altogether and encourage additional development.
So
You know, we don't want to.
it's just too. Existing stretches of single-family detached residential homes.
And
No,
what kind
it's-
of path are we going down when you take out family ownership units and you change it to residential units?
Yes.
Doesn't that leave the door open to big entities coming in and just dropping whatever everywhere? Right?
No. Okay, let's start with the first one, if we don't mind. Start with the first change.
Mhm.
That there is a reference to the fact that in certain subcorridors, like 3 and 5 we were talking about, there are substantial stretches of single-family detached residential homes. And the concept is that we want to protect those areas from commercial encroachment, okay? To protect those areas for commercial encroachment, knowing that there is still some room for growth, we have explained in the two descriptions of subquarter 3 and 5 that we do encourage additional residential development in those areas at the same pace that they've currently been. So that is consistent with the theme that we are looking for those two subcorridors.
I think you nailed it between the original first paragraph and the original fourth paragraph.
Okay, the fourth paragraph is just simply a distinction between types of home ownership. When you say family ownership, you eliminate rental opportunities, rental units, okay? If you just say residential, you're now including both of them. So basically it reads, revised zoning ordinance regulations to allow residential units generally designed in 2 to 4 unit structures, consistent with the subquarter characteristics. Family ownership was eliminating the opportunity to the rental opportunities as well. So that's why that's there.
And this came from where?
These were changes that came to me from the Executive Office of Housing, their leading planner there, who provides consulting advice to local planners.
You guys have done a great job with this as it was.
Thank you.
We need to change that. Given that the corridor project overall looks at developing everything,
It is.
business, residential, whatever.
True.
Why does this need to be here? Why do we need to spend time on this change?
This was the one place really in this entire table that we were focusing on residential. It's not a big part of this. The majority of this is travel in the corridor and streetscape and design guidance and kind of growth management. So
if I take the first paragraph here, just to read it as it is written right now. Says establish corridor zoning provisions to protect the existing stretches of single-family detached residential homes from commercial encroachment and encourage additional residential development.
yes,
So if I read that as is, that tells me that in areas where I have stretches of single-family detached residential homes, I'm not going to allow commercial. I'm only going to encourage additional residential development. That's what we've been saying all along, right?
yeah.
So we're all
So
in agreement, that's what we,
that is
I want to make sure that's what we all want, right?
No,
it has been included on.
You don't want that? You want a
78,
commercial development,
84.
no, I
residential
don't,
neighborhoods?
I don't. I think it's just from commercial to development, commercial encroachment, period. Because the addition in there of, and thanks for pointing this out, and encourage additional residential, it sounds like increased density. It could be interpreted as we want increased density in that area. So in other words, we're establishing a south corridor provisions to protect existing stretches of single-family detached residential homes from commercial encroachment, period.
Period.
Done.
It's just protected.
I make a motion, we strike the rest of that.
Second.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. It could be interpreted though.
I understand what you're getting at. All right. All right, so we have a motion, second. Is there any other discussion from others? Okay, all those in favor of taking out the words and encourage additional residential development?
Aye.
Aye, all right, so 6-0 then, so if we should remove those last 2, 3, 4, 5 words.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that we're not allowing additional residential development. We're just taking out the words encourage additional residential development.
Okay, that's it. That's all the changes I have for you. Is there any other discussion on this document? We will finish up.
I get it. Don't want to twist words. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, do you think it's appropriate to leave in the second paragraph up from the bottom, regulations to allow family ownership units designed into 2 and 4 unit structures?
I would actually, personally, I think I'd be okay with leaving that one as residential, because for that particular one, we're talking about 2 to 4 unit structures. I think we're specifically talking about rental units, not single family homes.
No, it talks about family ownership, not single family homes. Think family ownership versus corporate ownership.
No.
Some of the other things that
We're
what
talking.
we have to look at is what somebody may come before this planning board with years from now and say, you allow this. Whereas I think it was well written the first time to say, family owned is gonna ensure the continuity of neighborhoods, whatever else, because we also have other things that we're having to wrestle with here and at the town council level with all kinds of other concerns coming in, buy up properties and then turn them into neighborhoods that people
If
are
I
gonna
can,
have a
Mr.
tough time.
Chairman, you're not allowed to dictate form of ownership. There's a case right on point on that. You can't talk about it. You couldn't, if a project came before you, you couldn't require it to be family owned by law.
We can't dictate form of ownership, but by saying simply residential, we're now saying it could be residential, it could be home ownership or rentals. That's the reason.
Sorry. Okay, but to your point, if we say in the first paragraph, we're looking to protect those stretches of single family detached, right? And then on the subsequent point, we say, oh, we're gonna revise the zoning regs to allow residential units 2 to 4. We're actually working against the first paragraph that we
Well,
put in there.
again, it says consistent with sub-corridor characteristics, and within the ordinance, we actually define where those sub-corridor characteristics allow for 2 to 4. Because again, this is just saying within the sub-corridor, these things were allowed specific to those sub-corridor characteristics. So you have to go to the ordinance, and the ordinance very specifically says in this area it's allowed, in this area it's not.
So realize full well, right, because we can.
I mean, we wrote it very clearly. It's not allowed here, it is allowed here.
Yeah, but in the first paragraph, I guess they're working against each other. I mean, you can have a single family detached residential homes, and then somebody next door is gonna put in a 4 unit.
Not if it's in the area, not if it's in an area that's in a stretch of single-family detached residential homes. They're not in those sub-corridors where the multifamily homes aren't allowed.
The first paragraph's, John, the first paragraph's talking about protecting single-family residential homes from commercial encroachment.
Right.
Yeah, not residential.
Not
Not
residential.
residential encroachment.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
No,
We're talking about residential, so they're not.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So.
And then the 2 to 4 units are only allowed in certain areas of the corridor based on the sub-corridor characteristics. So it says within there, as we went through the ordinance.
Okay.
Some of them say it's only
Uh.
single family, and some of them say in these areas you can have 2 to 4 family homes in these areas, but in other ones you can't.
I don't know, the more we read it, sometimes the more the boogeymen show up, you know what I mean?
I know, but you have to follow, these are overriding, general terms, but
Yeah.
the specifics of the ordinance goes in by corridor. This is what it allows in each one.
Okay.
All right, are we good with the changes that we made to the first bullet? And then, as the solicitor mentioned, we cannot change the fourth. And the last one, I think the planner mentioned is somewhat redundant with what's in the second to last bullet.
Please.
We do, yes.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve this. What is this called? This is called,
This is the draft, table 4-5.
yeah, 4-5. As amended by the planning board this evening.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. Are there any discussion from other members of the board? All those in favor of, sending this forward then to the town council for their review?
Aye.
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 Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, so I appreciate all of your input. We have.
Oh, I'm sorry. Rose, do you have a question? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I apologize.
Okay, I have a concern. You just said that that some of these zones, you can't just plop a four family down next to, say, single family residences, right? Depending on the overlays and what have you. Well, isn't that what you're doing on Service Road? A street, whatever it is, where you've got a residential neighborhood? They just came in and looking for the variances. You've got a residential neighborhood that's all, from what I heard you all say, are single family homes, and they're gonna drop 8 units right smack in the middle of it.
If I can.
How is
yeah,
that any different? I mean,
Because it's state law. State law allows an applicant to come in with a comprehensive permit and increase density. That's something that the legislature of the state decided they're going to put upon towns.
so that comprehensive permit thing is basically, it doesn't matter. So it could happen. If they come in with the LMIs and they want to plop it right down smack in the middle of a nice little residential neighborhood, because of the comprehensive permit and the LMI 10%, yada, yada, they can just slap that baby right in there.
They can put it anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere. in
That's
the
a
town.
problem. That's a big problem.
They're allowed to file a comprehensive permit. They're gonna have to convince this board that they meet all the other terms, all the other rules. And this board does have some leeway, just like they did with the 2,300 units on the golf course.
Yeah, well, it's a problem. I'm not liking this at all. I gotta be honest with you. I'm very concerned. So you're saying, we're changing all these zoning things, but it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter, because if they want to come in and put down, I mean, this service street, in my opinion, as a concerned citizen, to put 4 two-family houses on a 0.65 lot is crazy. That is like unbelievable density for such a small, that's just over half an acre. Think about it, 8 units on just over a half an acre. I am a real estate appraiser. That's what I do. If I pulled into that, I'd be like, what? Who wants to live on top of each other? They're getting stuffed in there like sardines. I'm sorry, it's just a matter of fact. You can't tell me that is going to be conducive to the neighborhood. It's not. It's absolutely not. So I've got big concerns of all of this. I don't like the fact that the state is stepping in, telling us what we can do here in our little town. It shouldn't be happening. The state is now forcing their stuff down our throats because they couldn't step in and take over all of our little towns here. So I see what's happening here. They, instead of just coming in and taking over, so we're state zoning, they're doing it this way. And it's frankly, it sucks, because it will take all of a blink of an eye to ruin this town. This little sleepy town will go away. And not to mention, we're changing all these zones into residential. We're just sitting there talking to the EDC about how we want manufacturing here, small mom and pop shop manufacturing. Where are we going to put that? We're going to have all this housing and no jobs. We are shooting ourselves in the foot. If it's clear as the nose on my face what's going on here, and it is not good for this town. Big concern. We should all take into consideration. This is not good. Thank you.
It's be tough to follow that. Alright. Dealing with Peter at 51 Clark Street. Well, I want to say that you guys actually did do your job too well. You did an incredible job. I'm going to say something about this. This Route 1 corridor study to give 280 properties a zoning change in one fell swoop like this might be one of the worst ideas in town government, but you guys did such a good job doing it that, I mean, I think it might pass 4-3. I really do when it comes to us. It will be carried by the Democrats, but it is so good that I can't, because of your work, going through this line by line and making it almost palatable. Well, I try to say that, but that's a word. I think that it's something that we could live with, but I'm never going to vote yes on a plan that gives a zoning change to 280 properties in one fell swoop, but just on principle alone. But I'm not going to be mad if it passes, only because of the work that you guys did. I mean, this was excellent. You went through it line by line. You did your job and you did it well. I want to tell you that.
Thank you.
I think it's important. Go ahead.
10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, yes.
I think it's important to
We're getting up there though.
understand we don't like certain things as much as anybody else. I'm a proponent of affordable housing in our community, but I'm also a proponent of keeping our sense of place. This, until we get to 10%, when we get to 10% affordable housing units in this town, then we will not have these comprehensive permits per the statements and the answer to the questions put to the solicitor tonight. We're exempt from that. This is what the state of Rhode Island has been doing, and I encourage you as town councilors to work together, to put facts together, to pressure our legislators to take certain things. There's these unique things about Southern Rhode Island communities, especially South County. And the number one thing is we drink from groundwater. So some of the densities don't necessarily, may not make sense, but again, it's all things that the legislature has to change. They can come in here. If we sat up here and denied these permits that come here just just because we don't want a town to change, they would go into Superior Court and get us overridden. That's just the way the law is written. It's not fun. It's, you know, as I used to say in the service, it's a giant crap sandwich and we're all going to take a bite. But it is what it is. We wanna make it as good as we can. The other thing is I have met with families and told them they're gonna get an affordable house with Habitat. And that it's important that we make, you know, the community as open as we can and as economically diverse as we can also. So some of the folks that I may not want to live in that half acre with 8 units, but other people would be very, very happy to do that. And as a place to raise their kids. So, again, it's a challenge.
Mr. Chairman, just before we conclude this evening, I've drafted 3 separate motions so that if there needs to be discussion on any one of them, you can. I think what I'd like to do after if you rule on these is I'm going to put together a cover letter with the documentation that is going to be referred directly to the town council and have it for you to review and sign the letter and as we proceed forward. Okay.
So we've made individual motions throughout the night for each one of the items. Do we need to make a separate motion for these 3 now as you've written them in the staff memorandum?
I think so, because it's going to refer to the exhibit numbers, et cetera. Maybe not the last one, because you already voted on the list. So, that's okay.
Okay.
Scott?
I mean, just to make this fast, if I can make a suggestion, the planner's memo, which is F1 dated November 12, 2025 for the meeting November 18, 2025, addressing the implementation of the Route 1 corridor study comprehensive plan amendments, zone changes and zoning ordinance amendments, which is 2 pages, contains 3 motions on page 2, which a board member could adopt by reference, and we could mark as Board's Exhibit 1 for purposes of this discussion, and make all 3 motions concurrently by adopting the memo and the motions contained therein, and say so moved.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, members of the board? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Nancy, I'll look for that from you. And we'll
Yes.
sign that to send to the town council to move this forward.
Thank you.
Wow. All right. Our next order of business is new business, F1, and that is none. After that is administrative officers report. We all have the future agenda and monthly report matrix. I do want to make a point, mention, John, you have your meeting tomorrow, as you mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, with the town manager, with Perry and James, and I want to thank all 3 of you for volunteering to do that. And appreciate your efforts to move that forward for the CIP. I don't believe we have anything else pressing on the calendar between now and the CIP recommendations at the end of the month, other than reminding everyone to go through that booklet, go through everything. If you have any comments, questions, bring them to the next meeting so that we're prepared to discuss and have our recommendations so the planner can put together the memorandum for the 16th.
For the meeting on the 2nd, I'm just going to add the calendar for the 2026 dates. Okay?
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
will we be able to see the final revision, all typos, spacings, formatting, everything all done before it goes to the town council?
Yeah, we can send that out to everyone.
Sure. What I'll do is I'll get it distributed to all the members of the board by the end of the week. And then Monday, we'll have Matt sign the letter. How's that? Is that enough time?
Yeah, if there's any questions or anything else, just let me know. Okay,
Yeah, you can get in touch with them if there's any concerns.
all right. Any other questions on the monthly report matrix? Next item on the agenda is Assistant Solicitor for Planning and Zoning's report.
So I know Mr. Gagne has asked some questions and asked for me to respond to those questions. If you want, if Mr. Chairman thinks it's appropriate, I can respond this evening to those questions.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So there was some discussion and some confusion and about the relationship between the administrative officer of the planning board. So I asked a series of questions. And basically the question was, could you define the relationship between the administrative officer and the planning board under 45-23-55, sorry.
I've already seen.
There were a number of questions, including the interaction with the town manager as well. So I'm going to take you kind of soup to nuts quickly through the process and just kind of describe to you how this is done and what the interaction is. So first, let me start with 45-23-32-1, which is the definition section, which defines administrative officer. It's the municipal official designated by the local regulations to administer the land development and subdivision regulations, to review and approve qualified applications, and or coordinate the local boards and commissions, municipal staff, and state agencies as set forth herein. It clearly says the administrative officer may be a member or a chair of the planning board, an employee of the municipal planning or zoning departments, or an appointed official of the municipality. And it's designated by the particular town. So In Westerly, it's been designated by charter. And the charter provision is 1214, which actually does a couple things. One, it indicates that appointment of the town planner shall be the responsibility of the town manager, and the qualifications of the town planner shall be determined by the town manager as provided in the town personnel description for position. Second thing it does is the planner is designated by the planning board to be the administrative officer. So the town planner has been designated by this charter provision as the administrative officer. And then finally, Section D indicates the local administration of the Westerly Land Development and Subdivision Regulation shall be under the direction of the administrative officer, who shall report to the planning board, which is also consistent with other provisions in state law, which deals with the administrative officer. 452355 specifically provides that the administrative officer is basically responsible for the administration of the local regulations and shall report to the planning board. And the local regulations shall specify the process of appointment and responsibilities, which they do. And then the administrative officer shall be responsible for coordinating reviews of proposed land development projects and subdivisions with the adjacent municipalities as is necessary to be consistent with federal, state, and local laws and as directed by the planning board. And finally, Section A26136 spells out a little more detail about our administrative officer, but really repeats everything I read to you, ripped out of state law. So nothing different in there than what I've already told you. So in a nutshell, the administrative officer is appointed by the town manager. It's already been designated by charter to be the planner, which is what happened here. The planner reports to the board as to its administration. I hope that clarifies things. Are there any questions?
So what we're saying, what we're saying here is when it comes time for duties, for priorities, for all of that, in a way, we're working collaboratively with the town manager to determine what the planner is working on and how, for example, so when this came out of a conversation about the use tables. And what I was told was, I don't report to the planning board. And I thought I could have been wrong, but I thought you did and confirmed it is. So with regard to priority, if the planning board as a body sets a priority that it wants to have certain things done, it's going to get those things prioritized and efforts by the planner. We have a lot of new members. I wanted to make sure we're all on the same page. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't incorrect in this, and what I'm hearing is I'm not.
I mean, I don't speak to whatever assets, whatever time, whatever staff
No.
they have in their department. You vote on something. If it's something that the administrative officer has to implement, well, then that's the job, to implement what you voted on. To the extent it's within your power, that's exactly what is expected. Now, that doesn't speak to whether they have the staffing or the time or the resources to get it done. I'm not judging any of that. That's
No,
completely out of my scope, but the law is what I've said.
but under the duties of the planning board, long-term planning for the town, zoning regulations, et cetera, making recommendations of those. It's, if the body votes, then that's it.
That gets implemented,
Okay.
correct.
That's it. Good.
Yeah, the key being if the body votes. The body
Correct,
votes and
the body
directs the
votes.
planner to do something, then that's the key element of it.
And
So no one member of the planning board can direct the planner to do something on their own. It's if the body votes as a whole in open session and says
that
do
is
that.
absolutely correct.
So I can't call the planner and say, do this without the authority of the board behind me.
Correct.
Because I feel like it,
And this came out of this
Right.
body saying that it wanted to address those use tables.
which,
With the ARB, and then. there
which
was a
I,
conversation-
again, and
There
again,
was a there was a conversation with the planner informed that does not work for the planning board. She works for the town manager. And to some degree, that's true. But with regard to this, the whole goal here was, how can we tackle this, put it into place, and then bring it back to the planning board?
Understood.
Okay.
And I do believe when we left the meeting the last meeting, the discussion was, we're gonna take care of this, get this to the town council, because that was what our priority was. Then we were gonna handle this through an amended table to go along the backside of the use tables. It was not to have one member of the planning board go behind the back of the rest of the planning board and direct the planner to do something without the rest of us knowing about it.
And that did not occur.
You just said that you went to the
No,
planner
no,
instead of. wanting
all
to
I
do
did is
something.
went to the planner and had a conversation as to
Okay,
how and what the timing of this could be in place.
okay.
And what I was told was, it's not a priority. I can't get to it this year, and I don't report to the planning board.
Okay.
The planning board. So
This-
this member did not go behind anyone's back.
All right. That being said,
Yes.
this year is over in 6 weeks, and then we're into the next year, 6 weeks from now. The priority is to get through what we're getting through right now and
And,
get this on the agenda for the next.
and I
meeting.
believe, being a former project manager,
Yeah.
that if we have someone that reports to us and this board has priorities, that we put priorities in due dates
Understood.
and pass those and vote on those.
Understood.
That's where
And that's
where
why-
I'm landing.
The next item on our agenda is future agenda items and board questions. And as I mentioned earlier in the meeting, if you have a future agenda item, which is to put this on the agenda,
Yeah.
then let's put this on the agenda so that we can discuss it and put it to a vote and have this discussed at a future agenda so we can put it on the end. So you would like to make a future agenda item to discuss the use tables, that they have this addressed by the staff?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Madam Planner, if we could, I think we have a request to have the staff put together an addendum to the use tables that has the 5. Did I do that right? Is it 5 or 6?
I don't know how many
I
they
can't
are.
remember. I think it's 6. I can't, it's 5 or 6. Overlaid.
And I would like to provide you with some information and and I'd like you to give me the opportunity to persuade you that that is not a good thing to do, that it would be a waste of time, because overlay districts do not operate like the underlying zoning districts do with all the different variety of uses that are allowed. It doesn't make sense to do that.
I understood. I don't think I'm looking for a table that mirrors what's on the use table.
The working section.
No. I'm
No.
getting that. All I'm looking for is a table that says these are the 6 overlay districts.
Yeah.
This is where the details on those overlay districts are found. And these are the additional uses that may be available in those districts, so that somebody knows, to Mr. Gagne's point, to Mr. Azzelina's point, that there are additional uses within those districts. And if you want to find out the specifics of it, you have to go to a different location to find it. We're not giving you a table that's going to tell you for every parcel, because there's no way to do, to your point, there's no way to do that. It
So,
would be
Mr.
a,
Chairman, I apologize, but have to have this conversation even. I feel a little bit challenged by this discussion. First of all, I report to the town manager. He is my boss, okay? I report out to the planning board. In other words, I inform you of everything that's going on and what we're doing in our department, okay? I do not work at the direction of the planning board. I support the planning board in your review processes. And we, as you said, we collaborate on things that are prioritized. We do a prioritization every year when we do the annual report. The annual report set what your priorities are, and those are the priorities that I have committed my time to. I do not have the time, nor the energy, nor the staff and support to be able to respond to every request. What we've done in terms of the zoning ordinance revisions is I have sat down with the rest of other people in the staff and with the town manager and assistant town manager and with the president of the council. And we have determined what was the priority to get to the town council for approval in the next 2 months, okay? So next on December 2nd, I'm going to be introducing you to the entire roll of zoning ordinance amendments that have been written and that need to get to the town council right away, like last year, okay? And after that, we have a schedule of when all the other aspects of the zoning code will be done. And that includes the overlay districts. They are on the list to be done, but they are not in this phase of redevelopment.
I'm not asking for this, the next meeting or even the meeting after it. I'm
Okay,
just asking to put it on the list of things. And if we know when we're gonna get to those overlay districts and it becomes part of that when we get to those.
and as I have said, that's a part of the phase 2
Right.
redevelopment that you will probably be seeing in April unless we have anything
Miss-
that slows us up. Okay?
So,
And I've already reported that out to you twice.
so regardless of how you vote, you just heard it. So
Hmm?
here's.
Well, what we're getting at is,
No, hang on, let
Okay.
me just finish one thing. Mr. Azanaro has offered to do a straw man on this and an approach to a table. So I still would like it as a future agenda item for us to workshop. And obviously, we're gonna want input from the planner, but the reality is, I am going on the testimony that came before here from Mr. Azanaro and others who say their clients rely upon those tables. And the overlay districts gives them more flexibility and he thinks there's some way we can do it, so why not take volunteer help if we can, and if it's acceptable to all? But the idea that if this group votes and the planner the manager's not aware of we voted or what our priorities are.
Yes, he is, because
Hang
you're,
hang on, I'm speaking.
there's no reason to be disrespectful.
I'm not
to one
just being
another. I'm
disrespectful.
saying in general, there's no, excuse me. This is my meeting. There's no reason for anyone to be disrespectful to anyone here tonight.
Right.
If someone's speaking, let them finish and then talk. There's no reason to talk over anyone, period. Understand?
Totally.
Nobody has to act like a child here. Continue.
So, so basically, this is working out well, actually. If this issue comes up, and here's why it works out well. There needs to be a high degree of collaboration, coordination between the manager's office, between us, between the town council. I just heard that one member of the town council met and is setting the priorities for the town council. Did the town council vote on that? Because again, we all have to work as bodies and we all have to work together and we have to work collaboratively. So I would, again, my request is that we put it on there. Get input from Mr. Azanaro, wherever else, put a straw man out there and then determine where we go from there. So that's it. Thank you.
So you would like Mr. Azanaro to come before us with his,
Straw man. I don't want that. Kind of thing. Yeah.
is he going to have that for the December 2nd meeting?
I don't think so.
Is he gonna have that for the December 16th meeting? So should we give him time and potentially put this on the schedule for the meeting in January?
Why don't we just hold this until the next meeting and I'll give you an update, but let's just put it on as a future agenda item as a placeholder. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Are there any other future agenda items or board questions? We move on to the next item. All right, next item on the agenda is confirmation of quorum for the next meeting. December 2nd is our regular meeting at 6 p.m. That is the CIP recommendation. And again, just want to stress how important it is everybody goes through all of the items that are in there. Anything you have questions on, bring them to that meeting, bring your recommendations. Bring the things that you see as a priority for this board. And again, from the planning side of the things, what's important to us from our perspective for what we do as the planning board, because those are the things that we recommend to the town council, that we think these are the things that we feel are important. And to put that in perspective, last year, the things that we presented to the town council that we felt were the important things were the upgrades to the wastewater treatment plant. What else do we have on there? I'm trying to remember from last year. I think, was it Route 1 corridor? And we had one other one, I can't remember. We had three things that we identified in the items on there that we felt that were the highest priority for the planning board based on what our charter is and what our priorities are. They don't necessarily mean that those are the highest priorities for the town council, but they're the highest priorities for our board based on what our goals are and what we're supposed to be doing here when it comes to redeveloping the town. So put your planning hat on, planning board hat on when you're looking at it. Circle the items as you go through and say, these are important planning board things.
Would you like me to circulate the annual report that you presented to
Yeah, I
the
know.
town
I
council?
should know this because I just
Yeah.
presented it and now I can't remember what the third thing was that we just presented.
It was the zoning ordinance.
Oh, the zoning
provisions
ordinances. Thank you.
And the affordable housing provisions that
Thank
need to get done.
So there you go. So put your zoning hat on, your planning hat on when you read it, and those are the items that we have to recommend going forward to the town council. So with all that said, is there anyone who will not be here December 2nd? Anyone? Okay, sounds like we'll have a quorum here on December 2nd. That is the last item I have on the agenda for this evening.
Motion adjourned.
I'm gonna mess it up, so tell me what I'm supposed to do. Say thank you very much. Meeting is adjourned. The time is 9:55 PM. I did it right tonight.